male sexuality that Charlie is privy to. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that you work for OnlyFans, you have a certain insight into at least a cohort of men and into the sexual nature. Go ahead.
Well, just one note. Kelsey D. Atherton has a tweet that always goes viral. Oh, you're experiencing a structural problem. Have you considered trying different personal choices instead? Which is just every conservative thing. Which is like, and look, this has happened. We do have a crisis of loneliness in this country. I think it probably has more to do with levels of indebtedness and the price of like sort of the essentials in life and stuff like that. Levels of indebtedness are as high as they've been right before the Great Recession. And there's this idea that hookup culture or some degradation of morals is to blame for this. Actually, younger kids are hooking up way less than previous generations are. So it's not that.
And mystery. They do not want abundance and cleavage and skin.
Okay, so we get the same for men. Can you guys stop slutting it up, please?
No, I'm not saying. I am asking. I mean, men have plenty of. What have I just said? I said men's sexual nature is degenerative. I couldn't be more like cruel on males' primal carnal instincts. The question is, how do you lift us up to something better? Yes.
So we
can you pause it
before?
I'm sorry. This is really interesting, honestly, because you can actually see how he justifies rape culture in his mind, that men's primal nature is sexual and carnal, and it is the women's responsibility to not bring that out.
100%.
It's what the Taliban says. It's what every religious fundamentalist says. It's what the example that she gave. And so if you get raped, it's because you were feeding into the carnal nature.
Look, we allow Emma to come in some days not having her elbows covered. And we all.
Am I appealing to your prime sexual nature there, Curly?
We're all degenerating now over here because of your influence.
Oh my God, Western society.
I see one of.
You're so screwed.
The second I see one of.
We're so fallen.
The second I see one of Emma's ankles, I degenerate.
Yeah.
The question is, how do you lift us up to something better? Yes.
So we talked about this before. What's the difference between, so she does only lingerie pictures, right? So what's the difference between her and like Gigi Hadid or like any Victoria's Secret model, right?
There's not, I mean, is Gigi Hadid in a really great relationship and doing great? I mean, I believe one of them has like clinical depression.
She's dating Bradley Cooper, I think.
Most celebrity relationships last like what, 6 or 7 years, maybe?
Well, so your point is that they divorce more often? Or?
How about like conservative politicians or pundits? How long do their marriages typically last?
Well, I mean, to be fair, maybe Steven Crowder is a celebrity. I don't know.
Go ahead.
Maybe.
Well, so your point is that they divorce more often, or
well, I mean, I'm asking if you want.
Are you saying she
again? If you're looking for celebrities for life partner roadmaps, you're looking at the wrong people. Okay.
If you're looking at Charlie Kirk too.
I'm asking.
So you're fine with comparing that and being like, oh yeah, they're both not. They can't find high value men or whatever.
I am very short on their long-term prospects of being a couple for the next 30 years. I mean, if that's their question. But if you do not have to create a new roadmap. When women were more modest in their presentations, when women were more humble in their
was that necessarily a woman being humble, or was that also the laws of the day and age where they couldn't?
No, in the 1950s, the laws were fine. I mean,
you couldn't get a divorce because you never had a job.
I just want to weigh in here.
She's smoking him.
Yeah. I mean, totally embarrassing, this guy.
Because you never had a job.
I just want to weigh.
I mean, if that's their question. But if you do not have to create a new roadmap. When women were more modest in their presentations, when women were more humble in their
was that necessarily a woman being humble, or was that also the laws of the day and age where they couldn't?
No, in the 1950s, the laws were fine. I mean,
you couldn't get a divorce because you never had a job.
I just want to weigh in here.
She's smoking him.
Yeah. I mean, totally embarrassing, this guy. In the 1950s, my mother, I don't think she wasn't quite married, but my mother got married probably in the mid-1960s, early 1960s. She was not allowed to register to vote in Worcester, Massachusetts. This is not a podunk town. It's the second biggest city in New England, under her maiden name. She was not allowed to have a credit card in her name. It was Mrs. Cedar. She was allowed to have a credit card. In probably every state in the country, you could not be charged with
Team deathmatch.
rape. Did not exist
exactly
if
revolutionary
it was
warfare,
perpetrated upon
still
your
fun.
wife. That in the eyes of the law, your wife was essentially your property.
Where does the phrase "rule of thumb" come from? Do you remember? Do you guys know?
I actually don't know that.
You could beat your wife with something as long as it wasn't thicker than your thumb.
Wow. Really?
It can go
So
back.
the laws weren't a problem.
Yeah, right. That's not great. Yeah. Also, divorce rates have been on decline since 2000, slightly. Like, it's not overwhelming, but they have been. And that's when, internet porn and things like OnlyFans increase substantially. So there's no statistical correlation to what he's saying. It's just like a rehash of old like religious patriarchy.
You know what really strongly correlates to bad social outcomes like addiction or say loneliness is indebtedness. Continue.
Was that necessarily a woman being humble, or was that also the laws of the day and age where they couldn't?
No, in the 1950s, the laws were fine. I mean,
You couldn't get a divorce because you never had a job. You couldn't get out of the relationship. What are you talking about?
No fault divorce ended in the 60s or 70s. You could still get a divorce. It just
Yeah,
was
but you
harder.
had no job, you had no prospects, you had nothing. You had
That's a
children
separate
to take
issue.
care of.
You're getting too far off track. I'm asking a theoretical question. If more women than not made a commitment that we want a life partner, I think the reason why you all and women are willing to engage in hookup culture, even though you know it's destructive, even though you know it's bad for you, is because deep down women tend to be more insecure than men, and you think that you can get praise from men by doing this, and it gives you temporary security, and you're willing to then sacrifice
Can you pause it?
long-term viability. Yeah.
Okay, so is it praise for men that she's after, or is she just trying to pay her rent?
Right.
Also, like, I know I'm always referencing Mad Men, but I do love in the beginning of the show when they're talking about, like, why would we want Peggy's insight into this? Because women want what men want to feel desirable to men. So when we say that this product is what's going to make you desirable to me, that's how we should be marketing this stuff to women. And it's like, they don't misogynists or people that are in a patriarchal system, men like that, they don't even consider the fact that women have their own self identity, that they don't want, like, stuff that makes me, what makes me feel good is like when I make a really good point on the show. And it's not because, Sam, you may agree with the point, it's because I feel like the point is good. And that's independent of the validation I'm getting from the men.
That is a good point that you made.
Oh, wow. My insecurity just washed away.
Yeah, the problem with like pornography and OnlyFans isn't that it exists and that it's debasing us and taking us farther from God. It's that there are people that participated in it because they have to pay rent, not because they want to be creating that sort of content. That's the problem with it.
Temporary security, and you're willing to then sacrifice long-term viability of finding a life partner for that temporary security.
You also
My advice.
that on me. I don't engage in hookup culture at all.
We can leave it there.
That's fine. I'm just saying more.
More broadly, you know what's amazing is that every time she nails Charlie Kirk on his point, he's like, I'm actually talking about something different.
Yeah.
Like he started off with, weren't things much better when women dressed more modestly? And she says, are you kidding? People were chattel at that time. Well, okay, you're getting far afield. Let's talk about something else. It's amazing to see him get dragged out.
Oh, when he gets dismissed, he gets dismissive when she's making a valid point. He's like, you're not directing the conversation the way that I want you to direct it. I mean, that's classic. That's classic.
Yeah. You're not listening to what I am telling you to do.
Which that's your fault.
And which is exactly proof of my point.
And for any young woman watching this, just go back to that conversation, because I feel like I've had growing up, I had conversations that made me feel bad about myself, where I'm like, am I not making sense? Am I not articulating myself well to this person? And to this man, when they would, respond in that way. But a lot of it is just like internalized misogyny, where you don't necessarily realize it.
Oh, Emma, that's not what we're talking about right
Yeah, right. And I like, when he talks about what makes you feel insecure, that's what made me feel insecure growing up. That's what made me feel like, it made me feel like, oh wow, I'm not contributing. You don't see me as a whole person. Like he can't even fathom that women have their own, like, personality and agency outside of what they want from men. It's incredible to see a grown person in 2024 think that way, but I think there's a lot of men that think that way.
It's a lot of elbow in that one.
I know.
But whatever needs to have some people besides Charlie Kirk and Dave Rubin on that show. It's getting weird. Do they like subsidize the show?
I think they purposely have conservative men on, right? Like, I don't understand.
Every single clip I see is like, you are going to die alone because you have been sexual on the internet.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically what it's set up to do, and it's like, I don't know.
Wait, but how about all the men that are subscribing to her
But also, all it takes is to find one man, and I think like OnlyFans models are gonna be fine. But there are certain lines of work you go into that, yeah, like they cut down on maybe your options. Like, for instance, if you're a conservative pundit, people might not want to associate you with because you want to, suppress women's right to reproductive health or something like that.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out. Patrick Bet-David's on an interesting trajectory. One of the things when I started this program was I actually did, like, when I moved from, basically started it as a podcast, I did write up like a thing of this is what how I would approach somebody and ask for an investment of like $200,000 into the show, and I ultimately never sent it to anybody because I was always concerned that people would want some type of return on their on the show, frankly, and I didn't want that kind of pressure that I had shareholders. If you're a multi-millionaire who, let's say, you've made your money from like a what is that called, Matt? The
pyramid scheme, MLM.
Multi-level marketing.
Okay, sorry.
Multi-level marketing, not a
Sorry, we don't use pyramid scheme, but multi-level marketing. Right.
Multi-level marketing scam. And if you use, and if you make all your money from that, and then you're like, I'm going to be a media superstar. And so I'm gonna buy a building, or I'm gonna rent a building. I'm gonna build a beautiful set. I'm gonna have all these offices down in Florida. I'm gonna sponsor all these things. I'm gonna pump a lot of money in advertising. I'm gonna fly down guests and put them up at hotels. I'm gonna deficit spend to make my company, big and get big returns. And I've got big dreams. And I'm gonna call it infotainment or valuetainment. Where there's like a value and an entertainment to it. And since I have value and entertainment, I'm going to combine it to call it valuetainment. And then when maybe like you start getting big numbers, but you just start to realize like, wait a second, I got 12 people, I got like 15, 20 people working for me. I'm not making the kind of money I thought I would on year 5 or whatever my projections were. Then you really got to maybe lower your standards and pursue some stuff that might be a little bit more, cash rich. So I give you Patrick Bet-David with MMA fighter Bryce Mitchell. And Bryce Mitchell has some very interesting ideas about the Jews. In this instance, he uses some of the Muslims as a way of trying to explicate his perspective on some of the Jews.
And then, so now walk me through what you think about Jews and Israel. So what do you think about the religion of Judaism and Israel?
Well, I think even the Bible says that the Bible definitely says that people that call themselves Jews are not. So Jesus said that. I mean, just straight out of his mouth. He said people will say that they're Jews, but they are not. They're wicked. And I think that that's what's going on. And I believe that 99% of the Jews are really nice people, but who has all the wealth, a lot of rich Jews, you know what I mean? And I think that a lot of the more elite rich Jews are conspiring to take that land back, kill all Muslims and Christians.
You think kill all Muslims and Christians?
Oh, pause it for 1 second.
You think Jews
now,
want to kill?
now let's hand it to Patrick Bet-David. He's really pushing back on this. You think they're killing Muslims and Christians?
Well, I mean, didn't you hear Jesus said it? Jesus said it. So proof is in the pudding.
This is honestly like you can't get any more sort of like cookie cutter anti-Semitism than this.
Yeah. The ease with which he said it, too. It was like, you know that he's had this conversation with his buddies and his family 100 times. It was so nonchalant. The most insane anti-Semitism just rolls off the tongue.
And Patrick Bet-David is doing a great job of exposing this because unless you heard this guy speak ever before, you wouldn't know. And I'm being facetious. Yes, I mean, this is platforming anti-Semitism. Where's his Jewish co-host? Well, how come he's not in camera frame there? Is he there? Do we know?
Let me double check, but
I'd be very curious. All right, let's go back and listen to a little more of this investigative report by Patrick Bet-David.
Can we just, folks, Patrick Bet-David say, well, they're killing Christians too, like as if, it's one thing. Look, it's one thing if they're killing hundreds of thousands of Muslims. Yeah,
Pushback. Wait, Christians as well?
Is he not? I thought he was from Iran, if I'm not mistaken, Patrick Bet-David. But okay, all right. Okay, gotcha.
It might be from Persia.
Okay.
Capture zone secured. People, but who has all the wealth? A lot of rich Jews. You know what I mean? And I think that a lot of the more elite rich Jews are conspiring to take that land back, kill all Muslims and Christians.
You think kill all Muslims and Christians?
Yes.
You think Jews want to kill all Muslims and Christians?
I think the elite ones do. I think a lot of the elite Jews want to kill Christians and Muslims.
Why would you say that? What would make you think that's their motive?
Well, I mean, that's just what they believe in. They deny Jesus Christ, and so they view themselves as superior. A lot of now, I'm not saying every single Jew, but you got to realize there's a lot of very
imagine that the elite Jews that he's talking about kill all the Christians and the Muslims in the world, and then presumably it would just be Jews and Hindus and Buddhists. You'd have a lot more elbow room because there would be a lot of people killed in that instance. And I guess the elite Jews have some type of plan to make up for the workforce and the supply lines.
Yeah.
How happy do you think Elon Musk is when he hears a guy like this say all the rich people are Jews?
Right. Yeah, I mean, Christians...
Or Patrick Bet-David, or Bill Gates, or anybody else. Go ahead, keep going.
No, but like just getting these numbers up as of 2023, Christians are 2.4 billion. That's 31% of the global population. Islam, 1.6 billion, 23%. So add that together, he's essentially saying that this like 0.2% of the global population right now, Jewish people, are on track to kill a majority of the world.
See, that's why I've always been one of those Jews who just wants to kill all Christians. Because I'm like, let's not bite off more than we can chew.
Right.
But I don't move up high enough in the pecking order because I don't have the cat.
You're not elite.
I think you should have had Ben Shapiro in studio for this.
All right, go back a little bit. I mean, look, Patrick Bet-David, this is not a coincidence. I mean, we've had this conversation about Patrick Bet-David before.
Yeah.
When he was talking about the Daily Jew Wire or whatever it was he was calling. This conversation does not make Patrick Bet-David as uncomfortable as one would hope. I'll sit back a little bit.
It's just what they believe in. They deny Jesus Christ, and so they view themselves as superior. A lot of now, I'm not saying every single Jew, but you got to realize there's a lot of very, very wealthy Jews that have a lot of power, and I think these are the people that are over there bombing innocent Muslims. A lot of these Muslims getting bombed, they didn't do nothing. They're just innocent women and children just getting bombed, and I think that elite Jews are the main cause of all the innocent Muslims dying.
What do you think? Okay,
But they use Christian tax dollars.
to do that.
Yes.
Yeah. So at least financially, they're very frugal. Maybe there's a word where they're willing to borrow your money to do it, not their own money to do it.
Exactly.
Okay. So let me ask you: Do you who do you trust more? Who do you trust more? Do you trust more a Muslim's motive or a Jew's motive? And I'm talking specifically the ones of power and the ones of influence.
I think that the Jews conspire more than Muslims do. I think the Muslims, if anything, just want to be left alone. But they're not going to be left alone. They're going to be continuously bombed to Iran and Iraq, all that area. They're going to be pushed to the point where they have to retaliate. And those Muslims are going to form armies. They're going to bring the Russians and Chinese into the fight, and they're going to retaliate. I think all those Muslims are going to gang up and give hell on this earth. But I believe that they're being pushed to that point. I don't think that a lot of them are that evil. I mean, some of them are, but you also have some evil Christians out there, you know. But
Yeah.
Okay. He literally yes ands the anti-Semitism.
Yeah, PBD's followers.
Yeah, let me rephrase what you're saying there. What you're
Let me
trying
give you
to
a
say,
leg
they're
up.
frugal. They're really cheap, the Jews, right? I mean, that's what you're trying to say. Go ahead, keep going.
And he's a Christian. He's a Christian nationalist. This freak, and I mean, not a luminary, but like when he said they're using Christian tax dollars, it's just incredible how they.
Well, I mean, this is why it's
Erase
bad
everybody.
to suggest that it's all Israel running the entire show and not foreground the fact that actually this pays some dividends to America as well. Haig, old military guy, called Israel our unsinkable aircraft carrier in the Middle East. Like, I do think it's important to actually. I mean, this has been going on for how many months now, and it's getting a lot of attention. Now all of a sudden, people are putting on anti-Semitic sort of frames to it. This is a real disaster.
Well, phrase it in this way. It's not. I mean, people should just if you want a shorthand to talk about this, Zionism is a political ideology
and a Christian invention.
But even if you want to just make it like Judaism and Islam and Christianity are religions, Christian nationalism is not Christianity. Like Muslim nationalism or I don't know, fundamentalism is not Islam. And Zionism, in this instance, is a political ideology that's backed up by our military and our government. That's not Judaism. And I just like. It's incredible how I feel like this vacuum has been filled by some of the most disgusting people on the planet who just feel comfortable saying this.
Because we don't talk about it as political structures, and now instead it's just like cultures.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know. This is not a good sign of where things are heading. I don't think.
No. I mean, the idea that he's going to be platformed on a show, I don't know how many million people see that. I mean, this is, he's getting a lot of views.
Is that still up on YouTube, probably? But, I mean, I'm sorry. Like, back in the day, if Crowder was talking like this, that would have gotten a strike. I'm not saying that anybody wants to go over there and check it out.
Had a bunch of stuff with like literal Holocaust deniers. Like,
okay, well, people can still go over to the video and say I have an issue with this if they so choose.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.
Don't make this a habit, Agent.
Let's get into
Hi muckers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I'm filming this right after I just filmed Gabby Hanna's Escape the Nightmare because I need to start hearing what the other sides of this story is because Gabby's point of view is like so crazy that I just need to hear I need to hear other POVs. So we're going to get right into Joey Graceffa's video first, who is obviously the main person on Escape the Night, and then Daniel Preda's video. Joey's video is 16 minutes long. Daniel Preda's is over an hour long, and he comes, from my memory, more with like receipts and stuff. So I forget Joey Graceffa's video. I'm going to be honest. It has 6.4 million views. Daniel Preda's has 6 million views. Congratulations, Daniel Preda. Mention of Joey Graceffa, and you've got some views, but who am I to speak? That's what I do for a living. Mention people's names. But anyways, I'm very intrigued to see what Joey said, because I remember Daniel's video was messy. So let's just get right into it. Let's not waste any more time. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't. It's called Gabby Hanna Needs to Stop. All right. And it says, the description is, bye, Gabby.
Alrighty, well, let's just get into this, shall we? So this video is a response to Gabby Hanna's video, Escape the Nightmare. And I just want to...
Is he wearing a damn Escape the Night promo merchandise? He said, not a moment to not promote. God, this got only 4,000 dislikes and almost 400,000 likes. The public were on his side. So Gabby Hanna's little series where she was exposing people and getting like 100,000 views now blew up to the responses are getting 6 million views.
Give you guys a spoiler alert. Gabby was actually the nightmare, so sorry, I had to spoil you. So I'm gonna go over some of the points that she made in her video that are just completely false and give you guys the receipts to back that up. But before we get into those points, I do want to let you guys know that Gabby and I were close friends. So when she acts like the victim and is wondering why all these people in her life who claim to be her friends are no longer her friends, you do things, Gabby, to make people not be your friends. What you did to me on Escape the Night is the reason we are no longer friends, and the reason why I talked badly about you being on Escape the Night.
Oh, I love when someone owns being a bitch. He goes, and that's the reason I talk bad about you. I respect it. I would rather someone be more upfront than not. Because there's so many of these slimy YouTubers that will not tell you that they talk shit, and they do. So I appreciate the honesty.
Just because we were friends before that doesn't contractually make me obligated to never say anything bad about you or never not be your friend because we were friends in the past. You did this. You ended our friendship, not me. The way that you acted on set of Escape the Night is why we are no longer friends.
Oh.
Example of what a friend is like on set.
If I remember correctly, we're about to praise Colleen Ballinger, so let me just prepare myself. All right.
Of a production of your friend. Take some advice from Colleen, who literally gave birth months before, showed up on set.
The greatest woman of all time. If God was a woman, it's Colleen Ballinger, right, Joey?
Feeding. Went home after hours on set to her baby.
Yeah, because she was doing anything to avoid looking after those kids.
Nothing cleans like birth.
I love whenever they're all praising her for that. And I'm like, babe, she just wanted time away from those fucking kids.
Waking up and then having to be a mom and then coming to set the next day and doing it all over again. And the crazy thing is, Colleen was my #1 support system. Being on set of a production that's millions of dollars and having all this pressure is a lot. But Colleen didn't complain once, and she was my #1 supporter, making me feel good about things and helping me de-stress and telling me that everything...
She's really nice to your face, isn't she, Joey?
My friend is making life on set a living hell by being disrespectful and rude and mean and foul to not only cast but crew, screaming at the director, demanding things, and calling a production assistant a dumb cunt is not how you act on set of one of your friends. Not even just your friend, any set in general. That's not how you act, regardless of...
I think this is a good point that he's making. Like, this is a set at the end of the day. Like, you're all friends, in quotation, but like at the end of the day, this is a set. And if you're mixing it with friendship and stuff like that, that's on you. Like, everyone else is being professional, and if you weren't able to, then you're the problem.
For mental health issues, this is not how you act, okay? And that is why we're not friends, Gabby. And that is why I don't like you. It's because of what you did to me. You are not a friend. That is not how a friend acts. That's just not my definition of a friend. So my main receipts in this, there are some screenshots, but I think my main receipts are people who were actually there who experienced what her behavior was like. And I don't think any words of me describing what she was like, or even her words of describing and owning up to what she did, can fully express and convey what it truly was like. But I am in the process of figuring out how to get the footage, the raw footage and raw audio, to show you guys what it was actually like on set with her. And but until then, this will have to do. And I do want to say a huge thank you to Rosanna for coming forward with her Twitter statement, expressing what it was like.
That's crazy. I thought Rosanna Pansino's first time being involved in drama was whenever she bizarrely continued to come after Mr. Beast because she didn't win the competition. But no, our girl Rosanna was involved in drama back here. She was, you know, putting her foot in and saying that Gabby was not nice and Joey wasn't, like, she made her side very clear, and it really got people really riled up against Gabby. Rosanna's dabbled in drama before. Completely forgot about that.
Kind of debunking some of the things that Gabby had said in her video. And also the friends who were also on Escape the Night who like that tweet and support. I appreciate you. It means a lot to me because you guys are my biggest receipts that I have to really prove that Gabby was the one in the wrong in this situation. So I do want to go over some of the key points that she talked about in her video and debunk those with the receipts that I have. Okay, number one, I never once started this. Gabby thinks that I'm the one who started this. During interviews and stuff, people asked me like what it was like on set or what was season 4 like, and I was honest. I said it was awful because one person in particular was awful.
He said, babe, I told the truth. Honestly, I can... It's such a shady thing for him to say. He's like, I was just asked and I told the truth. But like, it is true, you know what I mean? Like, but also him and Daniel were making sly comments in videos as well. Like, it wasn't just always when they were asked in interviews, so he's not telling the full truth here, but I can understand how this is a great way to get out of it by being like, I was just asked a question, but that's not the entire truth, in Gabby's defense.
I never once said your name, Gabby.
And only one out of all 4 seasons someone like had an issue with dying.
Oh, there was one in season 4 too.
Really?
Yeah, that was season 4 was my least favorite to film by far.
Why?
Just because this one person on the cast who just needed help.
Really? And how do you stay out of like not talking about drama? You never talk about things. I would call people out left, right, and center.
No, honestly, I could have, and I could have like exposed a lot of receipts, but
yeah.
I don't know. I guess I don't put out that energy.
People were able to figure out who.
I was about to say, yeah, he didn't explicitly say it's Gabby, but obviously people were able to figure out. But in Joey's defense, that's on Gabby for people being able to jump the gun and assume it's her. That means that they already have a certain kind of idea that she would be the person that would do something like that. So that's on her again.
Was based on your past actions. It wasn't hard for people to connect the dots because you've set the standard of who you are online.
Ooh, Caddy.
It also just frustrates.
The claws are coming out, Tifa.
My friend do this to me. I mean, I've already expressed this, Gabby. You can't treat your friends like that and expect them to always just keep things hidden from people or not share my truth of my experience with you just because we were friends. You ended our friendship, and therefore I got to express my frustration and my trauma. And I
generational trauma.
But I wasn't. I stayed respectful, and I never once said that it was you publicly. You're kind of the one who outed yourself by confirming that it was you. I also never begged or pleaded for Gabby to be a part of the show. Yes, I wanted her to be in it because she was my friend at the time. She was going through a lot of shit. A lot of people did not like her, still don't like her, but I was her friend, and I wasn't seeing through the bullshit that everybody else was picking up on.
Okay, so he literally showed text messages where Gabby's like, but people hate me, and he's like, no, like, we still want you on the show. Like, drama videos don't mean everything. So, I mean, actually, that was not begging. That was actually being a support system to her. Damn, Joey fucked that one up, didn't she?
As a supportive friend, I wanted to give her this opportunity to be on a show that has thousands of fans and the opportunity to be on this platform that has like a billboard and a lot of respect towards it. So
a lot of respect is generous, to be fair.
This opportunity, hiring you on a project that means so much to me. So I'm sorry that I was being a good friend and inviting you to be a part of something bigger, but Go ahead, live in your delusional world. I'm sure it's comfy there for you. You also claim that ADHD is the biggest reason that you acted the way you did on set. But just so you know, half the cast had ADHD did not act in the way that you did.
I mean, again, this is like, Gabby really, like, the fruit was hanging and we were able to, like, pick it and, like, do retaliations against her. Like, blaming her entire actions on ADHD was not only so predictable, but just was, like, it's so bullshit because like there are so many people in the world and like most people who live with ADHD just do not act that way, and it's not an excuse in any way. But also him saying that about like most of the guys had ADHD, they didn't act like that. It's like, yeah, Gabby, it was just the way you acted. You know what I mean? There's no excuses for it. You don't have to make an excuse.
Then you go into your eating disorder and the whole food situation. Every single person is sent a form days before we start filming to get people's medical information and their allergies and any food restrictions. Gabby didn't fill this out until the day we were on set.
Miss Gabby, can we do a little BTS moment? How is she? Look at, she's got her yellow hair on.
We're doing that.
She's practicing her script.
Filling out my medical information.
You're supposed to...
Ooh, she outed herself in that vlog clip. Okay, so she didn't, in the long run, tell them what she wanted for food until the last minute, and then was like, I want green beans, broccoli, spinach. Like, that's on her. Damn. Okay, me when I don't do something and then I blame other people that I didn't do. Like most people who live with ADHD just do not act that way, and it's not an excuse in any way. But also him saying that about like most of the guys had ADHD, they didn't act like that. It's like, yeah, Gabby, it was just the way you acted. You know what I mean? There's no excuses for it. You don't have to make an excuse.
Then you go into your eating disorder and the whole food situation. Every single person is sent a form days before we start filming to get people's medical information and their allergies and any food restrictions. Gabby didn't fill this out until the day we were on set.
Miss Gabby, can we do a little BTS moment? How is she? Look at, she's got her yellow hair on.
We're doing that.
She's practicing her script.
Filling out my medical information.
You're supposed to...
Ooh, she outed herself in that vlog clip. Okay, so she didn't, in the long run, tell them what she wanted for food until the last minute, and then was like, I want green beans, broccoli, spinach. Like, that's on her. Damn. Okay, me when I don't do something and then I blame other people that I didn't do it. I don't know what she like expects. It's like working on everyone, like everyone has to work on her schedule. That's not work on a set.
Beforehand, so we can get everything prepared and make sure that we have your dietary restrictions accounted for. So I don't understand how you expect things to be done for you when you don't do the work yourself. And I also
a medical form is the bare minimum.
Defend Daniel, who literally went above and beyond for not only you, but everybody else on set. He had a million things going on, and yet he still managed to have the time to go to Whole Foods and get you your 3 healthy meals that were so specific of like exactly what you needed, and yet you still didn't even eat them. You literally just left them out to rot. So what was it that you were actually trying to do, Gabby? Was it that you actually needed the healthy meals, or were you just trying to be difficult? Because I think you were just trying to be difficult and throw around some power. Okay, so moving on to the wardrobe.
Damn. That also is a very fair point. Like, I kept saying, like, if she needed all this shit so desperately, like, she could have got her own assistant, she could have, you know, had it in advance, organized it herself. But him making a point where they just believed that she was doing it to throw around power and stuff, I believe that more than anything else. And I hate that I agree with Joey Graceffa. But wow, that is such a good point that he made. And obviously, who knows more than someone who, it was his show, or is his show, I guess.
Oh, is this the outfit that you approved during your first fitting? I don't remember forcing this outfit on you, Gabby. I'm pretty sure you approved this during the first fitting, and you actually loved it. So we
so catty in this.
Of it. That was just a different color that matched your skin tone and your hair. The issue is, Gabby, you had 2 more fittings after we made you this custom look that you just didn't show up for.
Oh my God, he has email proof that she didn't show up. Oh, he has many emails showing that she didn't show up. Oh my God, no. Literally, they're like, will we get Gabby today? Oh my God, she didn't even show up for any of them.
Offered to meet you at your music studio.
Not at the damn music studio. There is, if anything, we need less music from Gabby Hanna. So like, that is her excuse for not showing up to her fittings, and then she complained that the clothes didn't fit her because she was at the music studio. All that for what? So what if I'm the monster?
You accepted, and when the costume designer, who was actually 9 months pregnant at the time, drove across.
Was everyone on the set fucking pregnant or just had a baby? Fuck me.
Town to go to your music studio, you stood her up.
Gabby has a shit today and cannot go to Universal for the fitting.
And again.
Oh my God, she didn't show up.
To make sure that your wardrobe fit until you showed up the first day of set and it didn't fit you. Surprise! And you were complaining.
It's also important to note that Gabby never responded to Daniel or Joey's video, which kind of does just in turn make her guilty, in my opinion. In the history of online,
make it to the
they got the last word.
To make sure that it fit you. So make it make sense. I don't know how you expected.
Damn, I don't understand why she would. Why is my phone blowing up so overtly much? This group chat is going crazy. I thought I muted it. I hate whenever my phone just like, they added me to a new one. What are my friends doing? Can you fuck off? I'm working, as Gabby Hanna would say. I'm working so hard. I'm sitting and I'm filming. Oh my God, I'm working so hard. It's crazy that Gabby would
a professional courtesy.
make the escape. Sorry, I love playing with these. They're so good. This is what I normally wear. Look, I've like doubled them in size. Isn't that crazy? I'm sure you're so excited that I told you that. There's something really crazy that. Check out the new Escape the Night merch.
Hostiles are winning, Agent.
Your connection is not private. Attackers might be trying to steal your information. It's telling me to go back to safety. It is literally telling me to go back to safety when I try to go to Joy Graceffa's merch store. All right. It's like, you don't want this shit. So why would she make a video in which she's exposing all this when there was just damning proof emails, texts, videos, vlogs, everything that she didn't even show up for the bare minimum? Like, is there a humiliation kink here? Gabrielle? I don't know. Or just delusion?
A Cinderella miracle to happen to make sure that you were comfortable in your wardrobe when you didn't show up to the two fittings to make sure that it could be comfortable. So things took a turn on set after day 2 when she refused to come back the next day at her call time. So this is when everything kind of climaxed in...
I hate when people use that word.
Showing...
You know, I say climax. Ugh.
It was the end of day 2. It's about 4 a.m. We're all getting out of our clothes and getting ready to go home, and the PA comes to let us all know our call time for tomorrow so we can be ready for our hair and makeup and get day 3 started. So the PA tells Gabby a time. She has to arrive the next day, and she completely refuses, cusses out the PA, and tells him that she refuses to come. So, of course, we reach out to her manager, let him know that, hey, Gabby is refusing to work under the contract that she signed, and that she needs to show up on set. And her manager was extremely apologetic and was basically saying
her manager
extremely unprofessional. Like he's had so many issues with her, and so she showed up on set the next day. But the director and I met and were like, okay, this is not it. We need to kill her off the show as soon as possible so it can be a peaceful set, because she was causing so much chaos that we just needed to get rid of her. Now, there have been some cases where we do scripted death if someone has a heart out and they can't make it through the whole filming process, and that actually included Tana this season because she had to go to an award show, so we had planned that Tana would die in episode 5, and with the whole issue with Gabby, we're like, we can't have her for one more episode. Let's get rid of her. So we planned the double death, which a lot of people were upset about, but now you know the real reason why there was a double death. The next day, I took Gabby aside, and of course, she had a million things to say. She had all these excuses of what was going on with her and how she's the victim. And I'm in producer headspace. Like, I need to make sure that this production.
That's what I say. Like, I have like worked on like short films and stuff, but they've been like college projects and stuff, so not on the level of Escape the Night, as abysmal as it is. To give credit where it is due, and I've worked with a couple difficult people, and it just ruins the vibe for everyone, and it just makes it so much more difficult, and it makes the project so like puts such a damper on it that I really do sympathize with everyone involved in just wanting her character to be killed off. Could you imagine being Gabby and hearing that people are like, we just need to kill her off? Like, she's that excruciating to be around.
As smoothly as possible. There's millions of dollars on the line, and I'm not about to let this girl fuck this up for me. So I'm just nodding my head like, yeah, girl, don't worry, everything's fine, like, we're good, like, it's all good, like, I totally understand what you're going through. But in my head, I'm like, this girl is screwing me over so hardcore. She's made my life a living hell on this set, made things way harder than they need to be. But you know what? I'm just gonna suck it up so she doesn't screw anything else up anymore. And that's what I did. And I am proud of the way that I handled myself, because I could have gone off on her very hard, but I don't think that would have been a good result on set. I obviously didn't want her walking off, and I had to do what I had to do to protect me and protect the show. So if that's fake Gabby, well, it's what I had to do. She in her video complained a lot about.
I appreciate the honesty.
Girl, you did season 2. You knew what you were signing yourself up to.
This is what I'm saying. Like, he's saying the exact point I said, where she complained about these long days, the food, the everything. But I'm like, didn't you already experience this 2 seasons previous, and you said you hated it? So why did you come back? Now we have proof that you weren't begged to come back on the show. So it's like, why did you put yourself through that? Like, are they paying you that well? Or like, how much do they get paid? Tell me.
But also, that's just what set life is. It's a lot of hurry up and wait. But I know you think that the world revolves around you, and how dare anybody make you wait? I mean, how dare we pay you thousands of dollars to sit in a luxury trailer and do nothing? Sounds like a really hard gig, Gabby, to just have to do nothing but get paid thousands of dollars, and also get to be on a show that's going to be a platform for you to maybe redeem yourself. Maybe get people to like you and enjoy you a little bit more. So then her video goes into
Catty.
Her apology and my fake accepting her apology. So same with before, where we're on set, it's like I have to do what I have to do to protect this project. And by accepting your apology was me protecting the project. You're pretty unstable, and I don't know what to expect from you, so I'd rather pretend that we're good than actually deal with the craziness that you bring. I don't think you realize this, Gabby. Maybe you do, but you're scary. And you make it very hard for people to be honest with you. And if I was honest with you, nothing would have changed. You're so delusional, and you think that you're always going to be the victim. Even months after, when I finally did share with you my frustration of you on set, there was no getting through to you. There was always just an excuse. So maybe understand that the reason why all these people who are fake friends just don't know how to cut it off with you, because you're scary. And you don't make it easy for people to be honest with you. Also, I want to share a story with you guys about.
Oof. Again, this is so harsh to hear, and I'm not even Gabby, but it's like, she did this to herself. Like, she made that video and provoked them respond. Like, do you think she thought that they weren't gonna respond? But I can't see a world in which she thought they weren't gonna respond. It's also crazy, again, that her video only got like 100,000 views, 200,000 views, or whatever it got. It's deleted now, so we can't even see. And like, this got 6.4 million, and Daniel's got 6 million. Like, that's a big ratio of people exposing you. Like, that's borderline terrifying.
About a week.
Maybe that's why she deleted the series.
Shooting. And by the way, after she was killed off the show, everything went so smooth. Like, everybody had clear skin. We were all thriving. The season got progressively better, and we were all just in good spirits. It was literally a negative energy had been removed from the set, and we were all so happy.
Someone said that about me.
A week later, we had to do the press shoot where we shot the billboard and the promo shoots and stuff, and of course, she just had to make that just as difficult. She was complaining about her call time because even though she was contractually obligated to come to this day.
That's what I'm saying about all this. Like, didn't she sign a contract? Like, again, she's working, and I'm aware that as a YouTuber or a painter or a musician artist that she is, like, she is such a skewed version and perception of work. But like, you signed a contract, whether or not you were forced into, you know, being a part of it. They begged you. You signed a contract to do work and make a lot of money doing work.
Hey, she had a gym appointment.
Like, you get to fund your gym life and your artistic life by working.
Was that revenge?
She couldn't miss. So she was trying to...
She had a gym appointment she couldn't miss? Girl.
Basically be on set as least amount of time as possible, and she kind of was just thinking like, oh, I can just get my makeup done, shoot out, and go. But that's not how it works. There's so many rotating things. There's tons of other people. It's, again, not always just about you, Gabby. Like, I don't know what else to say. It's just the world doesn't revolve around you. She's just so entitled to feel like her time is more valuable than others.
I mean, it's a fair point.
Colleen has a newborn baby that she's breastfeeding on set and managed to make time to be there, but your gym appointment is way...
Doing anything to escape that husband of hers she hates.
You have to go to the gym, Gabby. That's way more important than the contract that you signed to be here for the full time that is required. But because things weren't going her way on set, she had a major meltdown, and I'm hoping to God that I can find the audio or some video form to really show you guys how much she blew up on this poor woman who was just telling her time of when she was ready on set. It was too much for Gabby, and she called the woman a dumb c***, and then stormed off set, and we didn't get to finish.
Failed to enter whiteboard mode. Do I look like a fucking teacher to you? Don't remind me again. Fuck off. Am I supposed to do a presentation or something? My camera's been flashing for the past 2 minutes. I'm like, what? I'm a teacher now? Whiteboard? Am I gonna like break down this saga on a fucking whiteboard? Fuck off.
Her promo shoot. So anyways, stay tuned for if I can find the footage or the audio of her to really convey how awful she was on set. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Okay, I don't think he ever did that. Don't think he ever did that. Again, I just don't understand what was worth it to Gabby putting herself on the line so much to be exposed. Also, treating other workers so poorly as what she's been exposed as doing, it's just evil. And she obviously knew that they could respond to her because she kept calling herself a bitch, I was a bitch. But like, that doesn't excuse if you were just a mean, nasty person. Okay, so Joey's video was not really like exposing receipts, but it definitely was telling the story overall. And it really does paint a more accurate picture. Now, the next one, Daniel Paredes, is when things get really crazy. Like, that is the crazy video. He has so much proof. But Joey's, I think, kind of tread the line of like being involved, but not being involved in drama kind of way. Let me know your opinion on Joey's video and whose side are you on so far? Gabby's or Joey's? We'll talk down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Take no prisoners, Agent.
Hi muckers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing very, very, very well. Okay, in my video yesterday, I said that we were going to be starting the Escape the Nightmare situation that Gabby Hanna posted. And instead, I got distracted fully by the Kenza Cosmetics drama. So today, I am actually going to be doing the Escape the Night. So I'm sorry, and you're welcome. I know a lot of people were really interested in the Kenza Cosmetics revisit those, so I'm glad I still did it. But anyway, I'm very excited to jump into the Escape the Night stuff because it, again, is really, really, really messy. And to kind of recap what I said yesterday, this is why I believe that Gabby deleted the series, because she was doing the series obviously exposing people, and the Escape the Night one was the one that kind of like was picked up by everyone. You know, Daniel Prada, the boyfriend of Joey Graceffa, famously known as, responded with like a killer video. Joey Graceffa responded with like a killer video. Rosanna Pansino was saying that Gabby Hanna was a nightmare. Like, basically everyone turned against Gabby Hanna in the YouTube space, and this was like a real reason that people were like, wow, Gabby is a liar. Wow, Gabby is a mean girl. And it all stemmed from this video, which we have right here. It's called Escape the Nightmare. So to recap again, Joey Graceffa has a YouTube original show called Escape the Night, where a bunch of YouTubers go in and it's like this show of them like survival and stuff. I don't know, I cannot watch it. The acting of the YouTubers is abysmal. Not my thing. And it's crazy because even in the time period where I loved certain YouTubers, Colleen, they were in it, and I still could not bring myself to watch it because it just was so purr. Like, it was so purr. Anyways, let's get to Gabby Hanna's Exposed, and then we're going to be getting to Joey Graceffa's response, Daniel Preda's response, Rosanna Pansino's. Like, this opens Pandora's box. So if you're excited, let me know. And yeah, please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I'm excited to jump into this one because it's been a while since I've seen this. All right.
I think I left off at, let me think. Oh, there's a story I want to tell. The reason I'm doing this, so silly. Also, the fact that I've been talking about my diet and food all day, I'm literally thinking about that a lot. Literally texted Peyton, was like, can you give me some chocolate-covered raisins while you're out? That has to be some type of weird subliminal.
Chocolate-covered raisins is so gross.
Self-destructive shit, right? Or maybe I just wanted some fucking raisins. Maybe it's not that deep. I think I left off at, let me think. Oh, there's a story I want to tell. The reason I'm doing this is because so much stuff has popped up at once, and I never got to adequately just like defend myself. And I don't want this to be a thing that people think they can just do. Come out and tell some like story about me, then everybody makes fun of me and like doesn't listen.
Which is so ironic because ultimately those people would then respond to this and everyone would take their side. However, in this revisit, I want to see what she had to say, and I want to hear what Joey has to say. I want to hear what Daniel, and then we'll come to a collective opinion, and I'll have mine, you'll have yours, and then we'll meet somewhere in the middle. Because again, I remember in this moment, I immediately jumped on the Joey Graceffa and Daniel Preda train and was on their side, but I'm willing to hear her out. I'm willing to hear her out. There's been many things on this series right now. I've been willing to hear her out. This is why we're doing it. We're not revisiting this, and we don't revisit drama in general to double down on opinions we've had years, ago when we covered it. The thing is to kind of see how it's aged if we have a different opinion. And when we visited Dramageddon 1 and Dramageddon 2, my opinions were totally different, and it's fun because I posted videos when those Dramageddons were happening, and my opinion is completely different than the revisit now. I don't know, I like looking at things when we have a little bit more information and time has passed.
I always apologize if I do something wrong, if I react in a way that's embarrassing. Always I apologize, but I never get an apology for what they did. And I'm so sick of this narrative that the first person to talk shit about it publicly is the person who just like wins, and you just have to apologize to that person and that's it. Because this situation was really fucked up, and I've always kept it between us because I feel like professional and personal relationships.
Time to tune in to all. You guys ever been to a roach motel? That's what it would be like if you visited this guy's house. This is Asmongold watching a Matt Walsh video whose logo looks like Waste Management, which is appropriate given the fucking cockroach that is Asmongold, talking about why I am radically against tipping now. Great. He's a millionaire. He's a millionaire. That's very cool. Hey, subscribe immediately. I'm way cooler than him. Like, as a guy. You like me more than him. I don't know. I don't know what Matt Walsh could possibly say here to change Asmongold's tiny mind, but let's hear it.
20% at a sit-down restaurant is still the standard. according to most etiquette experts in the U.S. After holding...
Yeah, I give 20%, like, minimum. Usually I aim.
Let's talk about Nancy Pelosi. I'm going to skip it. I'm going to get to this. Because Nancy Pelosi was on Morning Joe, which has an audience of 1. This is specifically for one.
Team Deathmatch. Lethal force authorized.
I am not one to usually
2, 1.
speak on
Eliminate
cancel
all
culture,
hostiles.
right?
No need to interrogate
But
anybody.
today, we have a very special little morsel to talk about. Nick Fuentes getting his rally canceled at the last minute. Now, when I did my CPAC video, because in the past, Nick Fuentes has always had rallies usually around or across the street from CPAC. And I was waiting with bated breath. I had snuck into multiple Telegram channels. Like, I was keeping an eye out, ear to the ground, if like something was going to pop off, if there was going to be one, and I just didn't know about it. Did not happen, obviously. And then just because I've been busy with so much other shit this month, I totally haven't even been paying attention until I found out that Nick was having AFPAC 4 at a convention area in Chicago, near another conservative PAC gathering of some kind, right? I think I talked about this last stream, but if I had known about it, I would have tried to find a way to go somehow. I would have planned something. I would have planned, but it wasn't meant to be, and I'm glad I didn't, because honestly, I would have been pissed, and I know it wasn't meant to be, because as you can see here, and as we'll go into, we'll show some of the event that they had to actually resort to, because if you haven't been on Twitter, it's been a very glorious time to watch people fucking around and then find out. For those who don't know, we'll also talk about the Sneeko thing, because Sneeko, one of the, as I've said before, one of the 2 dumbest people on the internet, right there with Aiden Ross. Like, people so dumb, I don't know how they don't drown like drinking a glass of water. It's a miracle. They are like just having a brush with death every time they take a drink of tap water. They don't even know. Sneeko got his front tooth knocked out, and we're going to see the just absolute Chad hero security guard who did it in a bit here. But I want to go through Nick Fuentes first, because for those who don't know, Nick Fuentes, right-wing, I'd say ultra-nationalist. He would describe himself, and has on multiple occasions, he describes himself as a Christian nationalist or a Catholic nationalist. And he really likes to, and we'll see in the speech that he actually gave, he really likes to cover up his actual beliefs. He really likes to hide his power level, as the internet Nazis say. And Nick is an expert troll. Like, that is the thing he does best. That is why his army of grippers follow him, is because he is not genuine about the things he believes, which allows him, as we will see, to slip into these spaces where I've even seen people, you know, because conservatives are easily led rubes, on Twitter being like, I don't understand, like watching the speech that Nick did give in Chicago, why do people hate him so much? Why do they call him a Nazi? And it's because when he's giving a speech in public, the speech he gave out on the street to his dumbass followers, right, is not the speech he would have given behind closed doors. We know that because we've heard the speeches he's given behind closed doors. We know the shit he says when he thinks other people aren't listening. It was earlier, was it this year or last year, where he said that when he's 30, he wants to have a 16-year-old wife because he wants somebody who's young and fertile. These are the things
that the mainstream conservatives, people like Elijah Schaffer, who are sucking up to this asshole, don't really like to bring up. People like Jake Shields, who were in videos like walking alongside him in Chicago, don't really want to bring up, because they show that Nick isn't this calm, well-intentioned, just like he just believes what he wants. That's not Nick. That's not Nick. In fact, should we watch? You know what? I'm going to set the tone a little bit. No, we are not watching Catboy Nick content today. I'm gonna go over a bit of my channel, the anti-Semitism video I did. You may be familiar with several stunts that have landed Nick in a wider spotlight, like getting Marjorie Taylor Greene as a speaker at his events. When Marjorie Taylor Greene was later questioned on Nick's anti-Semitism and racism, she claimed to not know who he was, which I actually believe. MTG seems like the kind of person to just see America first and trust the name on the box. More recently, though, Nick was also Kanye West's handler as he went around his ill-fated campaign for president, which mostly just included bizarre appearances on conservative podcasts and shows like Alex Jones and Tim Pool. Knowing Nick's history as a troll who slightly nods towards alt-right talking points like Holocaust denial, being against race mixing, and being against education for women is important to understand how he's managed to grow his presence and in turn how modern anti-Semitism continues to spread unabated. Because he really doesn't like to present any of those things up front.
And the problem that is going on, if women want to work their whole life and never have kids, I don't think that's good for them. I don't think that's fulfilling. But worse still is you have women that are promiscuous, which is a mortal sin. They'll wind up having kids, often become a single mom, and even if they're not, the kids wind up in daycare. And the point is it's just a very selfish.
Like other fringe grifters, Andrew Tate or Alex Jones, Fuentes has made his reputation primarily for endorsing incendiary and somewhat violent rhetoric that often plays to various right-wing concerns like modern dating, job opportunities, or financial struggles, while his audience is looking for someone or something to blame for those struggles. Let's look at a great example from this guest appearance he did on a podcast. When questioned about being a white nationalist, anti-Semite, racist, bigot, fecal smear, he doesn't own up to any of it.
Nick Fuentes, known for holding anti-Semitic views and denying the Holocaust. That's what it says here. He's a far-right supremacist and political commentator and live streamer. He identifies as a member of the incel movement and as a supporter of authoritarian government, as a Catholic integralist. Gotta learn how to read. And white Christian nationalist. In 2020, seeking to establish a white supremacist conference to rival CPAC, Fuentes began holding the annual America First Political Action Committee, AFPAC. Fuentes attended 2017 white supremacist rally in Charlottesville and later was the attendee and speaker events preceding the 2021 United States Capitol attack. So there's a bio. How much of that is accurate? And here's your chance to write your own bio.
Well, a lot of it's not true. Every time they say my name, they got to throw in white supremacist, white nationalist, anti-Semitic, neo-Nazi. I don't identify with any of those things. I say I'm a Catholic American nationalist.
Instead, simply portraying himself.
So this is the really important part that everybody needs to pay attention to. This is the most important part about Nick, though, because if you listen to everything he just said, he likes to couch it by saying, I'm a nationalist, and he likes to say these things as if it just means I love my country. It just means I want to do what's best for my people. And it's the same kind of caveat that all racists and bigots like to employ. It's like, oh, okay, so you're allowed to have black pride, but I can't have white pride. I'm not hating anybody else. I just want a place for like my own people. I just want to do this. The problem with that is it's never actually just that. Like that's always a lie. That's always a trick. It is never actually just, hey, we like white people.
Don't make this a habit, Agent.
Because it always is done in service of being able to say, we hate black people, we hate Jews, we hate this, that, and the other. It is never, ever just, oh, look at white people. Like it's not. That is the type of shit that Nick is selling and that the easily led masses who go to his rallies will buy. Now, The next clips that I lay out in this video, Nick loves to act like he's not actually a racist or white supremacist, mostly when he gets invited on podcasts or gets called out on his bullshit. But if he's not a white supremacist or an anti-Semite, why would he say this stuff?
You know, take a wild guess why conservatives have been losing for 100 years. It's because the conservative movement is full of atheists, Jews, and homosexuals. And the conservative movement is full of people exactly like this. And that's why the conservative movement is never going to save this country. I won't even call myself a conservative for that reason. What we need is a real reactionary right-wing movement led by real Christians, real Americans, real right-wing people. Not all of these interlopers, and that's exactly what they are. Democrat to deplorable? Fuck you, okay? How about just deplorable? How about just conservative? No Democrats, no liberal Jews from D.C. for crying out loud. Every time they say my name, they got to throw in white supremacist, white nationalist, anti-Semitic, neo-Nazi. You know, I don't identify with any of those things. And so how am I the only person saying this? Like, I feel like I'm going crazy because this is just obvious. Everybody feels this way, but no one wants to they don't want to say it, and they also don't want to admit it when I say it. When I say it, they go, you know, it's like Scarface. So there's the bad guy. Because, you know, the same black people that are the eternal victim, the same blacks that were saying, oh, they're poor kids, oh, they're poor this, they're inner city schools, the food ghettos, endless. And they're the ones that are robbing everybody in Chicago. They're the same ones doing heists. Enough already with this. Picking up after them, picking up their garbage, and we're gonna make these, we have to pander more to them. Seriously? I mean, let's have a little bit of dignity. This used to be a great country. Now it's a trash heap. And we gotta get on our hands and knees and beg these people to appreciate what they've been given on a silver platter. I'm not gonna do it. You know, I don't identify with any of those things. And that's my favorite part of the whole story. It's not just that he's a black guy beating up his girlfriend. Like, no matter what you do with them, you can put him in the U.S. Army advertisement. You can make him the star of the biggest franchise, cinematic franchise in the history of Earth. Then you put him in an Oscar film as well. I mean, this guy's like supposed to be world famous. They're clearly setting him up to be a Denzel, Will Smith, whatever. You can take the out the hood. You can't take the hood out the I identify with any of those things. But people say, oh, well, he was a globalist. He was this universalist. He wanted the whole... Well, that's not quite true. He was making Germany great again in his own special way, in a more classical way, making the German nation, if the German nation is considered as the German peoples, he was making that German nation great again. The reason people don't want to talk about that, the reason people can't embrace that, which is common sense and moral, is because people associate with a little guy named Adolf Hitler. Anytime you bring up ethnic nationalism, white identity, yeah, who do you think of? Adolf Hitler, the bad man that killed all those people. Well, you know, I don't know, maybe it's a good idea that America should be white, but also by the same token, that sounds like the bad guy. That sounds like the guy that I was taught, you know, from cradle to grave, that was the most evil person. You know, there can be no recourse about that. There can be no debate about that. I might say that's deliberate. Some might say that's deliberate. You might start to wonder, why is it illegal to question certain things in Europe? Why is it basically illegal to have a contrary opinion? How about those 200 to 300,000 Jews that he mercilessly wiped off the face of the planet that we will never get back? How about those people? Makes me sick. It makes me sick when people lie about the most evil man in history. No, but in all seriousness, that's a joke, of course. That's a joke. We know that the number was closer probably to at least 1 billion. But no, of course, why do I just punish myself? I just do this to myself. But I do it for you, the people, because it is funny. But in all, I'm a misogynist, and I didn't choose that. I didn't choose to be born. I've never touched a woman in my life. I'm stone cold to somebody. Yeah, well, I don't even want that. So, I don't want touch. I don't want a relationship. You know what I want? Total Aryan victory. That's all I want. I didn't choose that. All I want is revenge against my enemies and a total Aryan victory. Hugs and kisses, touch, sappy stuff, hand-holding, please. All I want is revenge and an Aryan victory for my people.
Nick Fuentes. So that should give everybody as much of a look as you really need into Nick Fuentes. But I want to go and see if I can find real quick. Yep, here it is. This is the other good clip. Good being a relative term here, but this really gives an idea about what Nick is about.
No, bitch. I want to drink it straight from the tap. I want it raw. I don't want to wait a moment. Right when the milk is good, I want to start drinking the milk. Same thing goes with women. I don't want to turn 30 and find some 20-year-old, 29-year-old woman that I have something in common with, and it's like, hey, properly aged, like wine. Women don't age like wine, they age like milk. They don't age like wine. That's not how their hormones work. That's not how they work. Yeah, I gotta find my 16-year-old wife. Probably when I turn 30 or something. Because here's the thing, I don't want to be like, let's say I get married to the 18-year-old now. 6-year age difference. When I turn 40, she's going to be 34. Ew. What if I'm 30 and she's 16? 14-year age difference. When I'm 50, she'll be 36. When I'm 40, she'll be 26. Then now we're talking here. Now we're cooking with gas. Now you can see an alternative vision for how things could be. I want a 16-year-old that's untouched, pristine, untouched, uncorrupted, innocent. That's what we all want. And all 16-year-olds want an older guy who's like capable and strong and everything to sweep them off their feet. That's what everybody wants.
Should be noted, Nick is famously an incel. By his attesting, which I don't believe him, I think he has had sex with boys. But hammers, just all the hammers. What else can you say? This man, hammers. No, he doesn't say psych. He believes that shit. This is what he sincerely believes, right? So we're going to go through, and I want you to notice when people talk about, and let me show the Sneeko thing really quick. Because Sneeko and Nick were not leaving the premises when they were starting to get ousted. And that was how Sneeko lost a tooth. That was how Sneeko lost his tooth. Now that we've talked a bit and we know who Nick Fuentes is, right? We talked about how he used. So Nick really tries to keep everything on the DL, on the down low. Like because they are open Nazis, and everybody knows this. And you can point to any number of news media articles and send them to any event venue organizer, owner, anything, and they'll be like, oh no, we don't want these people here because they bring violence and hatred wherever they go. We do not want to be associated with them. So because of that, well, we'll find out here. I'll go to Amanda Moore's Twitter in a second. What they did was they essentially used a proxy service to organize their event. They did not speak person to person, Fuentes or his management, to anybody else. They used another event organizer to put their event on at the venue, so that the venue didn't know who was actually like really going to be there until they did, and they decided to cancel it, which left, as we'll read here, Nick and his Groiper Nazi buddies on the street. From Detroit Free Press, the leader of a controversial right-wing group canceled their conference in Detroit, alleging they were kicked out of the Russell Industrial Center, where they said they had plans to hold events. The move comes after Detroit police had responded to a dispute involving the group on Friday. Nicholas Fuentes of the America First Political Action Conference said Saturday on social media that the group was setting up the stage on Friday. Fuentes said they had a contract for the venue, but an official with the Russell Industrial Center said they were tricked by the group and never had any contact directly with Fuentes or AFPAC. The center was working with a third party, quote, a local and reputable production company that does large-scale corporate events for other reputable companies. The spokesman said they would never accepted such an event if they had known what they promote. Like, they straight up, as much as they want to say, because we'll go into some of Nick Fuentes' comments and stuff, and his stupid people in his comments, the groypers and everything, talking about they tried to spin this as a victory, right? And the way that they do that is they say, okay, well, obviously, you know, it's the QAnon thing. It's like, oh, well, why would people try and stop us from speaking the truth? Because they know that we're over the target. It's because actually we're getting very close to the mark. And so you'll see if you go into Nick Fuentes' comments on Twitter, because he's been reinstated. Thank you, Elon, for reinstating explicit neo-Nazis. Good job. If you go into Nick Fuentes' comments, you have a lot of people praising him and saying, this is how you know things are really controlled by the Jews. But if they hadn't been shut out, they would still be saying the exact same thing. So like any development that happens to them, straight up, will just reaffirm that. Like it's not actually like a genuine confirmation, even to them. I feel like they know that. Like at some level, not all of them, but some of them have to know that. Blue Heartless, is this allowed, like lying to get into places? I think it's probably like a gray area that the event was not happy with, because as we read here, quote, the event was canceled due to fraudulent, knowing misinterpretation of the true nature of the event by the production company for their client and our concern of safety for our facility, employees, tenants, and surrounding communities. A spokesman for the Russell Industrial Center told the Free Press in a statement. This is my favorite part. Quote, the amount of hate mail we received and terrible things being said towards us by the AFPAC following is disturbing and only affirms our decision as the right one. Like, so I guarantee they were sending like death threats and shit. I guarantee they were sending like death threats. Like, not a doubt in my mind.
Joining in.
Fuentes has been described by some groups who monitor hate groups as a white nationalist who promotes racist, sexist, anti-Semitic, and homophobic views. Would we say that, chat, after what we just watched? Would we say that's pretty accurate? I think that's pretty accurate.
1. Secure the capture
The spokesman
zones
for the
and
Russell
neutralize
Industrial
the
Center said
opposing
it's a
force.
performance and arts complex, not a political rally hall. We never have and will knowingly accept those kind of events and believe it is a gross misuse of our space. We do not politically affiliate with any group or party. It baffles me why they chose our venue for such an event. Probably because it was the only one they could get into. That is probably it. I am willing to bet after the last couple times, like Holiday Inn, Hilton, actual convention centers aren't going to fucking want them
Capture zone contested.
to deal with them.
Allied forces
Before
on
the
zone
event, quote,
B.
we were told when booking the event that it was a private, high-class corporate event with a seated dinner and some keynote speakers. So that is a fucking lie. Like, yeah, they are straight up lying to get into this place. The production company also had us downsize our normal security protocols as they kept ensuring us, this is the wrong use of ensuring, it should be EN, ensuring us this was a corporate event with all professional corporate attendees. Fuentes posted a photo on X of what appeared to be himself inside the center on Friday with some police officers near him. Yesterday, we finished setting up our stage and the event, and then the venue called the cops to kick us out 24 hours before the event. Fuentes said on X, quote, it would have been our biggest yet with 2,000 attendees. And yeah, it would have been the biggest. They had sold out, as I talked about it before. They had tickets up to like $20,000. Like all expense pass tickets to this event. 20 people paid 20 grand, and that was just for the ticket. That's not even like travel costs. Here's the connection because oh yeah, Nick Fuentes, he's such a rogue renegade. He's so big and tough, and he's such a rogue independent Sigma that he always has to ride somebody else's fucking coattails. Always. Fuentes often holds his conferences near the location of more mainstream conservative conferences, said an official with the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Allied
This
forces
weekend,
on
Turning
Zone
Point
B.
Action, led by Charlie Kirk, is holding a conference at Huntington Palace in Detroit, where former President Trump spoke Saturday. Fuentes showed up at the Huntington Palace on Friday before being escorted out by security, social media posts show. He then gave some remarks outside the center against Israel, criticizing their actions against Palestinians and attacking Turning Point for being pro-Israel.
Crime in the mind. Crocs ready for blast off.
So when people started, we've talked about it in the chat, and I talked about it in my video on anti-Semitism. There is a massive difference, and Ted Cruz tried to spin this as Democrats, when David Duke came out in support of Nick Fuentes here, because David Duke is like the leader of the Klan, like he's a fucking racist piece of shit. Ted Cruz tried to twist it as, because David Duke, he's condemning people who are pro-Israel, so therefore he's condemning, or he's siding with the Democrats who are pro-Palestine, when in actuality, David Duke was praising Nick Fuentes, who had dinner with Trump, the same person who Ted Cruz endorsed for president. So it's really not really meshing there. But when these people say down with Israel, they don't mean solidarity for Palestinians. There is a massive gulf between the way that these words are construed.
Don't compromise.
These people mean that all Jews should die. These people have deep-seated beliefs, and you can hear Nick Fuentes talk about them, that Jews are a forbidden people, that there is something intrinsically wrong with them. Of course, racist, bigoted nonsense. That is massively different than the broad left wing, not liberal, because I would say a lot of libs support Israel over Palestine and buy Israeli propaganda, but the left-leaning pro-Palestine supporters who actually give a fuck about the innocents being slaughtered by a genocidal government. Two very different approaches, because here's the thing, at the end of the day, if tomorrow Nick Fuentes woke up, all the Groypers woke up, and they got their wish, Israel wiped from the face of the planet. Do you know who's next? Muslims and Palestinians. To them, they are just a different shade of brown. To the racist, they are just a different shade of inferior. Like there's no difference to them. Aside from what they can currently use in the cultural zeitgeist as a wedge issue to spew their noxious hatred. And we've seen that on Twitter. We've seen it with accounts like, oh, that fucking fake doctor account, Dr. God, what's her name? We've seen it with a couple of the Marble Statue Abbey accounts who spread these ideas. With Jackson Hinkle is another one, where they are using this war, a genocidal campaign against the Palestinians. They are using it as a way to wedge their racism in there. Somebody will say, hey, I think Palestinians shouldn't be murdered for not doing anything. That's kind of fucked up, Israel. And they will tap them on the shoulder and be like, hey, did you know that Jews actually control Hollywood and the media? And of course, because this is the internet, the dipshit on Twitter will go down a rabbit hole of information just drip fed to them from these right-wing accounts, specifically meant to funnel them down this ideology. So don't let anybody ever tell you that, oh, well, Nick Fuentes, he just wants us to not be as involved with Israel. Yeah, so does the left. Nick Fuentes actually wants every Jewish person to die. Trump dinner guest says perfidious Jews should be executed. American First hate leader Nick Fuentes called for those suppressing Christianity to be absolutely annihilated in recent live stream. When we take power, they need to be given the death penalty straight up. He has said what he means. He has said it out in the open. People have a record of this. Have these facts on hand.
He's in danger.
They are easily verifiable. So if you ever encounter somebody who says, well, I don't know, Nick Fuentes is saying some stuff that makes sense, because the way that he says it in public is different than how he says it in private. In public, it's just about, oh, we were just promoting nationalism, and America is a great country, and we shouldn't be involved in foreign wars. In private, it is those people are the synagogue of Satan. That there is something wrong in their DNA inherently. That some races are better than others, and that some people deserve to die because of that. He won't say that shit out here in the air, because he knows this is like when he goes on Alex Jones's show. He's been on the Alex Jones show a lot recently, and when he goes on Alex Jones's show, he won't fucking say any of this shit, because despite what all the groypers want to pretend Nick is, he is not anything more than a massive pussy. He doesn't say anything with his full chest. He is a coward. But that is why he's thrived. You understand? He's like, this is gonna kick it. I'm sure some people know here. Transformers Prime, right? Like, what I get. And he's like Starscream broadly in that way. There's no real Megatron.
Friendly force is defeated.
But in Transformers Prime, it's one of the best kind of representations of that type of character, because he is constantly just this wormy, whiny little bitch who is always conniving, always has some kind of plan, is always placating the person in power nearest to him so that he can use them to get more power. And we've seen him do that multiple times. We've seen him do that with Kanye West. He does it with Alex Jones. He does it with Donald Trump. We've seen him do it with fucking Jake Shields and Sneeko. Like, this is somebody who believes that black people are inherently inferior to white people. He has said as much. He said, we just saw him in a video say, you can take an N-word out the hood. You can't take the hood out the N-word. And I censored it, but that was a hard ER, by the way. So you can't tell me that he actually believes that Kanye West is like an equal to him. No. But the entire time he knew that Kanye West is one of the biggest stars in the world. Just gave him a bigger platform to talk from. Yeah, Kanye has his little followers, but he's kind of in a dark bubble. I mean, here's the problem with Kanye, though, is that Kanye has a bunch of people who still listen to his music, who still will say, because he is such, like, Kanye is one of the, might be completely insane. That doesn't take away from the fact that Kanye West is one of the biggest, most recognizable names in music in the world. And Nick Fuentes knows that. He uses that to his advantage. That is the kind of conniving, manipulative person he is. This fucking account seems like a goddamn psyop. Lady Justice, Lady for Gazans. Zionism is Nazism. From river to the sea, Palestine will be free. You are supporting an actual Nazi. The American people are rising up against their Zionist occupiers. That is a fucking dog whistle. That is saying that Jews control the government. Unfucking believable.
Domination, a mix of attack and defense.
So this is another point. When you hear about, because I'm sure people have said, I think Matt Walsh has said it, talked about how when it came out that Christ is King is now effectively, and this isn't like, Christ is King is something I heard all the time as a kid in church. There's not a 100% guarantee that when somebody says it, they're Nazis trying to spread Nazi propaganda. but it is now a Christo-fascist talking point because of people like Nick Fuentes. So when you see that shit, there is a high probability on Twitter and in online spaces you're looking at an actual Nazi. And they are just using it, again, as another
Allies are
fucking dog
capturing
whistle.
Zone A.
Because all of these guys are pussies. They can't say anything with their chest. They are too fucking afraid of the actual consequences. Here's a friend of the show, Amanda Moore at No Turtle Soup. You'd love to see it. She was there covering all of this. This is a far leftist who I think played a role in getting AFPAC canceled. When I don't know when Nick got the news, but the timestamp/posts are interesting. Imagine bragging about shutting down an event that people took time off and spent money to travel to. People who can't debate you will silence you. When they're Nazis, I feel like that's the morally correct thing to do. Y'all have been silent. Sneeko lost a tooth. By my account, 2,000 Nazis missing out on their little dinner date, wasting money to travel hundreds or thousands of miles, and only ending up sitting on a fucking street corner to hear somebody yell into the wind through a megaphone. I'm sorry, that's peak. That's a win. I see this as an absolute win, to quote the memes.
Allied forces on Zone B.
That's just better at articulating. As you're aware, there is a big presidential election happening this November. Okay. And the current president, Joseph Robinette Biden, is the Democratic Party's nominee. Which is presumptive. Which is totally normal, and it's how it usually works. He won last time, one term, second term, there you go. But this time, the incumbent seeking a second term is 81 years old right now, and will be 86 at the end of his second term. 86th. If he wins, which none of that is typical. And after that televised debate last month, where Biden very much came off as a very old man, a lot of prominent Democrats and supporters of Joe Biden started publicly saying that he's probably too old to do this job for another 4 years, and definitely too old to make a compelling enough case to actually get elected to that job in the first place. So he should probably step aside so someone younger can take his place in order to defeat Donald Trump. Of course, as we've been covering, Joe Biden himself, the only person who can actually make that decision, has been steadfast about his intention to stay the course. And among actual elected party members, there have definitely been a few who have publicly called for him to drop out, but there have been way more who have supported Biden's decision to stick around. Well, to be clear, a lot of that support has been worded in a way that's kind of non-committal. Basically, yeah, I support Joe Biden staying in the race, but also if he does decide to not stay in the race, I support that as well. You know, I could go either way. Yeah. But I'm totally on Team Joe until I'm not. Whatever keeps my position in government safe and secure. So yeah, here's Nancy Pelosi on Wednesday morning.
It's up to the president to decide if he is going to run. We're all encouraging him to make that decision because time is running short.
He has said he has made the decision. He has said firmly this week he is going to run. Do you want him to run?
I want him to do whatever he decides to do. And I've said to everyone, let's just hold off. Whatever you're thinking, either tell somebody privately, but you don't have to put that out on the table until we see how we go this week.
And then you've got others being even more intentionally vague, like Senator Tim Kaine, who knows how to lose. Here's Tim Kaine on Wednesday.
I have complete confidence that Joe Biden will do the patriotic thing for the country, and he's going to make that decision. He's never disappointed me. He's always put patriotism and the country country ahead of himself, and I'm going to respect the decision.
I saw someone describe the way Democrats are talking about this, like the way people in the mafia describe doing crimes just in case the FBI has like tapped their phones.
Yeah, it is. They're using literally the Trump language, like where it's just like you can't get them on anything because all the conversations with Michael Cohen and Rudy Giuliani
Never said that.
They're so coded.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, listen, that's technically not Nancy Pelosi and Tim Kaine officially calling for Biden to drop out. But come on, they are definitely not saying the opposite, that's for sure. And reporting indicates that a lot more members of Congress, particularly the ones in battleground states, are in a similar boat. They're not ready to stick their heads out publicly just yet, but they're very worried that Biden's falling support in their states is going to drag them down with them.
Yeah, they're literally doing the I'm playing both sides so I come out on top. There's a very distinct and particular lack of courage from the Democratic Party, just in general, but specifically right now.
But it's very split among people who are in comfortable seats. Yeah, it's a lot less urgent for them than people who are in seats that could very easily go away, especially if they're being dragged down by an extremely unpopular president. And meanwhile, despite the party's official stance continuing to be full support for another 4 years of Joe Biden, prominent, reliably lived-up celebs, the annoying kind, like Rob Reiner, Stephen King, and George Clooney, have publicly joined the replace Biden camp this week, much to the shock and dismay of their fans, who have been coping with these betrayals by concluding that Rob Reiner, Stephen King, and George Clooney, clearly they want Donald Trump to win. They've gone MAGA. Someone got to him.
I love the idea, the idea that there's just like active Clooney heads, like that. I know that there are, but that hang off the every word of George Clooney.
I think he's a great actor.
Yeah, George Clooney, the tequila salesman. Rob Reiner, meathead.
Bees in danger.
He was Meathead, yeah.
He was
That's
Meathead.
how he got his start.
And and he's acting a lot like Meathead right now.
He's being a real meathead.
Yeah.
And George Clooney, I think you should probably sit this one out. You robbed like 3 casinos. So.
Yeah. And super criminal. And much like Malachi Love Robinson, lied about being a doctor.
That's right.
So yeah, I mean, it doesn't really seem like this is going away. As much as the Democratic Party and a lot of the mainstream media seem to want it to.
They're like, all right, it's settled. Let's move on now.
We've gotten past it, right, everyone?
Okay, another prominent liberal figure has come out. Well, shit.
It frustrates them when the George Clooney thing happens.
We said we were done with this.
When there's another senator that came out that said it. Because, yes, they have been acting as if this is the past. Like, we've all moved on.
We sorted it out.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
We looked into it, and it turns out Joe Biden is actually fine. Like that's what they're trying to present.
Yeah.
Like they're just like, well, we decided it's fine, but like essentially what you're saying, unsaid, is that Joe Biden is not senile, and what we all saw that was an illusion. Like it didn't happen.
You're watching us as I feel like I'm taking like legitimate by the definition gaslighting.
Yeah.
Where I think that I'm crazy for pointing out that I think that all of this that's happening is a little odd and that for some reason I am the only one seeing that there's clearly a problem with Joe Biden.
You are the only one seeing that. No one else sees that. What are you talking about?
It is very strange and aggravating feeling.
Is it a strange? That's weird. No one else is saying that.
Anyways, in the case of George Clooney, I mean, this isn't just some random lib celeb giving his 2 cents, but even Jeff Tiedrick, after that debate, was just like, what was that?
I mean, I wouldn't call Jeff Tiedrick a liberal celebrity. He's just a guy on Twitter.
Yeah.
He's the liberal cat turd.
Sure, yeah. But yes, he's been a huge, George Clooney.
Not Jeff Tiedrick, not cat turd, George Clooney.
Has been a huge fundraiser for the party for at least the past decade. And his calls for Biden to drop out are based on actual recent personal interactions with Biden and other elected Democrats. And here's some of what he wrote in the New York Times opinion section Wednesday. Last month, I co-hosted the single largest fundraiser supporting any Democratic candidate ever for President Biden's re-election. I say all of this only to express how much I believe in this process and how profound I think this moment is. It's devastating to say it, but the Joe Biden I was with 3 weeks ago at the fundraiser was not the Joe Big Effin' Deal Biden of 2010. He wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed at the debate.
Was he tired? Yes. A cold? Maybe. But our party leaders need to stop telling us that 51 million people didn't see what we just saw. We're all so terrified by the prospect of a second Trump term that we've opted to ignore every warning sign. The George Stephanopoulos interview only reinforced what we saw the week before. As Democrats, we collectively hold our breath or turn down the volume whenever we see the president, whom we respect, walk off Air Force One or walk back to a mic to answer an unscripted question. Is it fair to point these things out? It has to be. This is about age, nothing more. But also nothing that can be reversed. We are not going to win in November with this president. On top of that, we won't win the House, and we're going to lose the Senate. This isn't only my opinion. This is the opinion of every senator and Congress member and governor who I've spoken with in private. Every single one, irrespective of what he or she is saying publicly. Damn.
Batman has spoken.
Yeah, and he then goes on to make some pretty solid arguments that, you know, it's not too late to change course, and there's a big bench of possible replacements who could definitely win in November. He also, thankfully, no one else is addressing this, but there's all these, like, just straight up lies on the internet. They're like, yeah, actually Joe Biden's name is already on the ballot, so you can't change it. And he's like, no, it's fucking not.
Yeah, but
he's not even the official nominee yet. There's time.
When it comes to a lot of the responses that you've seen over the past 2 weeks of, like, you know, Whoopi Goldberg being like, I don't care if he's pooping his pants. And Juniper had a great take on that. Like, I think we should care that the president's pooping himself.
I do, in fact, care.
Yes, it is actually important that the leader of the free world, the most important job in the country, is held by someone who is who has it together.
The man answering the phone when the nukes get launched. I want that guy to actually, I do want that person to be sharp.
I don't want them to have to clean out their pants after they poop themselves in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Having to get up and answer that call, but wait, hold on. I've got to go use my seashells before I can answer the phone.
And just so we're clear, I'm pretty sure both of them shit themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm straddling the line. I'm both sides on the poop question.
Yeah, they're both crapping themselves. It is painfully obvious. But meanwhile, it sounds like the donor class is voting with their money. Here's NBC News. President Joe Biden's campaign has already suffered a major slowdown in donations, and officials are bracing for a seismic fundraising hit, with the fallout from a debate nearly 2 weeks ago taking a sizable toll on operations, according to 4 sources close to the re-election effort. It's already disastrous, one of the sources close to Biden's re-election said with fundraising. The money has absolutely shut off, another source close to the re-election said. 2 of the sources said this month is on a path to be down by possibly half or much more, one of them said, from large donors alone. Sources emphasize that the donations were down across the board. Donors are negative. They had a call with the president. The call seemed so contrived to people, I don't think they buy it, one of the people close to the campaign said, referring to a recent national fundraising call between Biden and donors. They called on people who were the most loyal, die-hard. There were no tough questions for the president. Initially after the debate, the campaign reported an uptick in donors, but that quickly fell off, the sources said. Trying to put a Band-Aid on like a gigantic hole in a boat.
And
actually, that's not going to be fixed.
I want to be clear, like, these people, like, it's not that they want Trump to win. It's that it's their money, and if they're spending that money, they want it to actually have a chance of making a difference. Whereas they have concluded, based on ample data and evidence, that throwing money at this campaign is basically throwing money in the ocean.
Yeah,
it won't make a difference. So yeah, looking at the big picture here, I don't know. Sounds like you need to fucking drop out, you selfish prick. This is only gonna get worse. Defeating Donald Trump should be a fucking layup. But every day that you stay in this race makes another 4 years of Trump more likely to happen. So drop out. Do it now. For fuck's sake, please. My God. I feel like I'm going insane. Please. Or maybe we, and half the country, are overreacting here. Maybe, instead of Joe Biden staying out on the campaign trail, looking and sounding like shit, or Joe Biden dropping out of the race, maybe there's a third option. Now, we're open to any ideas at this point. So take it away, HuffPost guest columnist Kayvon Schroff.
The stakes of the 2024 presidential election cannot be overstated. With Donald Trump promising to act as a dictator on day one, it is not hyperbolic to say the future of American democracy hangs in the balance. Against this backdrop, the Biden campaign faces a critical challenge, conveying a strong and effective image of President Joe Biden to a population and media ecosystem increasingly focused on optics over substance. Given the president's concerning performance last week, it's time for the Biden campaign to consider leveraging artificial intelligence Okay, it's time for the Biden campaign to consider leveraging artificial intelligence (AI) to effectively reach the voting public.
Woo! This is a new stage of cope. I love it.
Hey, one of my granddaughters came in here and said that she talked to the chat genie, and he said that he whipped up a script for me. You're not. You're not gonna believe. That's my new Joe Biden.
Yeah.
When he gets confused, he just goes and then does that side grin where only half of his mouth opens up.
So, hell yes, this is our tech show after all.
Yeah.
You knew we were going to get to tech eventually.
It is time to leverage AI.
And yeah, I mean, look, we've been very vocal about none of this AI shit seeming particularly useful. But what if we're wrong? We may need to reassess our position now, because if this writer is correct, AI might just save democracy.
Vice President Shrimp Jesus, anyone?
So let's read some more from this bold plan.
Yes.
Joe Biden is old. Joe Biden is old and has had a lifelong stutter. He acknowledged in a fiery rally following his debate performance, "I might not walk as easily or talk as smoothly as I used to." This has impeded his ability to communicate with mass audiences with consistent success. AI augmentations and video renderings could serve to smooth out these bumps while allowing the Biden campaign to effectively disseminate true information about the state of our democracy and the Biden administration's accomplishments. The president has limited time to campaign, as he also focuses on running the country, and AI would be a cost-effective and efficient way to communicate his message personally and directly to voters.
Did an AI write this? Probably. No. It's, you can't even make that joke because the chances of that happening.
Yeah.
Because it literally sounds like an AI hyping itself up.
Be advised.
Yeah.
Or someone who is probably invested in
I didn't look into this author, but I'm going to assume he's got some,
a little AI friendly.
Got some money riding on this AI thing.
Yeah. So, well, how exactly would this work?
Yeah, it's been pretty vague so far. How?
The idea of like doing anything to video that alters it in any way when talking about politics seems like the most dangerous road you could possibly go down.
It's just fucking hilarious because like for the last like couple years, this has been like
this has been the threat.
The threat. It's like, oh my god. Like once this stuff starts getting used in politics, it's fucking over. And then they're like,
hey, what if it wasn't over?
What if it was Joker? Like, yes, this would be the worst fucking thing in the world, but what if it could actually help Joe Biden, who is feeble and weak and can hardly string a sentence together?
This will absolutely ruin all democracy around the world. The only thing that could be worse is a doddering old fool who can't campaign. So how would this work? Well, here you go. Despite an ambitious and widely praised first term in office, he is currently trailing in polls to a man who incited an insurrection and was recently convicted on 34 felony counts. Something needs to change. And much to the chagrin of West Wing fanatics in the Beltway, it won't be the Democrats' 2024 nominee. Modern technology offers a clear solution. Shut the fuck up. AI can be used to polish how the president comes across, allowing voters to focus on his substance. How many times have we heard voters and pundits alike gripe that Biden would be the perfect candidate if he were just 10 years younger? Okay, side note, fuck off. 30 or 40 years younger. For the love of God, I don't want...
Even then, he wasn't. He ran for president in the fucking 80s, and he wasn't the perfect candidate then.
If he was 10 years younger, he would still be older than our bottom, or our baseline of 65.
Yeah.
He'd be 71 years old, and that's too fucking old. All right, continues. With modern technology, this exact deliverable is possible.
What are we talking like Joe Biden, like max headroom? Like
they should.
We're talking about using the beauty filter on all of his like press conferences, so he looks younger. Which ironically, if they made him look like actual younger Joe Biden, his hairline would be further back.
Yeah,
which is weird. How'd that happen?
Joe Biden might not be able to win the 2024 election, but a yassified Joe Biden has a much better shot. It had like the permanent hands with the nails in the shot.
Continues. We must ask the question, are augmented AI videos that present Biden in his best form while sharing honest and accurate information really more socially damaging than our information ecosystem's current realities? I think not. AI-generated content can be tailored to highlight President Biden's accomplishments, clearly articulate his policies, and present a consistent, compelling message. In an era where visual mediums and quick, digestible content dominate public perceptions, AI offers an opportunity for more effective communication. These AI-enhanced videos could ensure that the public does not make decisions about the future of our democracy based on an inconveniently timed cough, stray stutter, or healthy but hobbled walk. Biden suffers from a stiff gait.
Yeah, I got your stiff gait right here, buddy. The article goes on to talk about how the Republicans are probably going to use AI, so Democrats might as well use it too. Everybody's jumping on board.
Yeah.
The AI
it's called mutually assured destruction.
Yes. But without ever actually explaining what this would look like or how it would work, it just says that, AI solves this.
Yeah. It's never been done before, but
this is more searching for a problem. This is like, all right, well, how about if we used it on Biden?
Yeah, replacing Biden with a different candidate? What are you, stupid? Are you fucking dumb? Did you fall on your head, you fucking ding-dong? No, what we need to do is replace Biden with an AI avatar.
Yeah.
Stupid.
That's why, honestly, the safest tree you could fall out of is a coconut tree. No branches. No branches to hit on the way down.
That's true, yeah. Although the branches can help. If you're falling out of a tree, sometimes you want a branch.
No, you land in a comfortable pile of coconuts waiting for you at the bottom.
It's comfortable, soft coconuts to break your fall.
And then you crack one and drink it.
Gosh, I could use some electrolytes right there.
So yes, this is kind of confusing, but what are we talking about? Are we talking about just shoving a bunch of Biden speeches and campaign platforms into an algorithm that creates an AI Biden avatar that's just better at articulating coherent points and answering questions? And if so, then what? Is he going to debate real Donald Trump? He send Biden avatar out to campaign stops and interviews just in his place?
Yeah, that's going to go over great.
George Stephanopoulos is going to love that.
I mean, listen, it'd be interesting television.
You know
exactly once.
You know where this would work? Space Goes Coast to Coast. And I think he's just the host to get the real interview out of Biden that everyone needs to see.
So, yeah,
there you go.
They need to just put Biden in a big old TV, like Mr. House in Fallout New Vegas.
I can't believe they haven't wheeled him over to the Tonight Show for Jimmy Fallon to tussle with Harry.
Yeah.
But that's not only the dumbest fucking thing that we've heard. It's also something that a candidate tried to do in the UK election just last week. And AI Steve ended up coming dead last in his constituency, despite getting tons of press coverage leading up to it.
Yeah, there were so many stories like, wow, this guy's running an AI candidate in the UK election, and then election day comes around and like, yeah, everyone fucking hated that. No, everyone's like, fuck that. No, I will vote for literally anyone else. He got dead last. He got like 100 votes in his entire constituency.
People in general are just opposed. You're asking a population of people, regardless of KUS, to be inspired or hopeful about a technology where their face-to-face interactions with what they consider to be a robot over the past 20 or 30 years is frustratingly talking on the phone with a call center that doesn't exist and pressing buttons and it going to the wrong thing.
One. Joe, I said one.
Shut up, it's hearing the kids in the background. They keep sending me back. Yeah, so, sorry, it doesn't seem like using AI in place of the literal president anytime that he needs to talk is going to be a winning strategy with undecided voters.
No, they're like, oh, all this talk about Biden being frail makes him look weak. But you know what won't make him look weak is if we replace him with a fucking robot. Then people will be like, wow, he's not weak, he's actually strong because of the robot.
They should project him on a bunch of clouds while he stands on the side.
Hey there, Jack.
Like the Wizard of Oz.
Hey there, Jack. I see you're stuck down there in traffic. Hey, you got 5 minutes to talk about...
Commander, stop pulling that cord. Commander, no. Oh, they've got me. I'm just a doddering old fool behind this curtain.
If Joe Biden projected himself on the clouds, I think most people would legitimately think like, oh, good, he finally died.
Yeah, I guess
that's his ghost up in the sky.
But look, we're just throwing around every idea at the wall just to see what sticks, just like everyone else in the AI industry. This idea is a dud, but we've got an even better idea.
Drop out! Do it! Just drop. It's so easy.
Leave. Bye-bye.
Just go.
Yeah.
God, every day you don't drop out makes this whole situation worse.
Yes, if
the tide is going one direction.
The sooner you drop out, the sooner Kamala can start tossing mothballs around the room to get that stank out.
Yeah.
Get that old person smell. But that's our suggestion, and apparently it upsets everyone because
it's our suggestion, but it's an increasingly popular one. Before we came in tonight, I saw Chris Hayes is officially on the Biden dropout train. Fucking who's the guy with the beard from Meet the Press?
Oh, Chuck Todd
is saying he should drop out, and I only popped in for a second, but you're not gonna believe this. Sounds like Hutch is on the Biden dropout train, which I didn't think I'd see today.
Good for him. I'm proud of Chuck Todd for someone who, perfectly visually demonstrates never giving up. Because if you look at Chuck Todd's hairline, that man refuses to give up. But now he's finally saying that someone should be tossing it in. That's it, Joe Biden. Your time is up.
Yeah, it's just, and there's like,
maybe he has shaved his head. I haven't seen him in a while.
There's like, of course, more and more unconfirmed reports, but like the latest one is like Chuck Schumer behind the scenes is like freaking the fuck out, and like is just days away from pulling the plug on the campaign. And yeah, there was a senator, the first senator, a guy from New Hampshire or something, I think, went on the record. It's just every day, it's more and more.
Yeah, because I feel like a couple of them at least were like, well, he'll probably do the right thing.
The analyst
and now it was like, okay, fuck, we have to put our weight behind it. But on the latest episode of Chapo, they point out like how, it comes down to like them not wanting to put their necks on the line.
Yeah, and you don't want to be the guy who's like, yeah, he should drop out, and then he doesn't drop out, and then miraculously wins, and then you look like a fucking asshole, and no one wants to be around you.
Yeah. Seems like a losing strategy, but and the longer it goes on, the worse it is, because it gives them less time to actually find.
They've already blown like 10 whole days.
Yeah,
that they could have.
But yeah, the other thing they point out too is that Democrats keep saying like this is the end of democracy.
This is the most important election.
If he loses, it is the end of America, which might actually be true. But if it is, why aren't you running the best possible candidate right now?
Yeah, why are you calling it the most important election of all time through out one side of your mouth, and then on the other side of your mouth, you're just like, whatever.
If he gives it his best, I mean, what are we going to do?
Mixed messages.
Yeah.
Anyway, just so we're absolutely clear, our obligatory statement.
Yeah.
We want Joe Biden to drop out because we want Donald Trump to lose.
Yes, and this has
that's why we want him to drop out.
We're not mentioning RFK Jr. because we don't even care about that guy.
Yeah, he's a non-entity.
He ate a dog,
allegedly.
Yeah.
Now we know what's on the agenda if Trump wins. We're clear-eyed about that.
Yes.
It's not pretty, and it would be great to have a candidate who can actually articulate that instead of doing what the Biden campaign did this week and just tweeting out Google Project 2025.
Yeah, you do the work.
And then when you actually do Google Project 2025, the campaign didn't even have like an SEO-friendly website set up for when people do that. Like Google Project 2025, and then like, oh, that's smart.
I'm getting an ad for Expedia.
Yeah, the Biden campaign has like has their result right there at the top. No, nothing like that. No coordination. No. This campaign it's on rails. It's not. They're fucking bad at this. They're bad. They're not doing a good job.
It's first of all, it's like condescending to just be like, you do the fucking work. You figure it out. This is the most important election of your life. So I don't know. Figure it out.
I don't have the emotional bandwidth to explain this thing to you. It's not my job to educate you.
Also,
why don't you read theory?
Googling fucking Project 2025. All I can imagine is like ads for Vrbo and Airbnb and Expedia being like, big travel plans next year, like, because it's just an ad.
I mean, from what I like, Google does pull up results, but like, it's obviously if you're running for president and this is so important to your message,
you should be out there conveying it.
Why are you assigning people homework?
Yes, one of the critiques from within the Democratic Party that I've seen is that clearly, and this is a good strategy, they should be really repeating and just driving home the Project 2025 stuff, which is actually scary, but they can't because A, they're having to fucking hallucinate a totally cognitive president, and B, he doesn't have time to talk about Project 2025 because he can't fucking get his words together, and as soon as Trump says literally anything, it scrambled his brain to the point where he couldn't even retort.
But yeah, so Project 2025 is basically, it's a plan put together by the Heritage Foundation. It's mostly just every single conservative proposal you've ever heard but all in one place. And the more alarming aspects of it include getting a bunch of important federal agencies that are responsible for stuff like labor rights, climate, healthcare, consumer protection, etc., and just like destroying them, removing them entirely, gutting them, and then filling what's left of the administrative state with Trump loyalists instead of independent bureaucrats like how it's supposed to work. And yeah, of course, they want to continue just cracking down on abortion and throwing you in prison for it and making the lives of LGBTQ people more difficult.
Or illegal.
And just fucking like murdering anyone who crosses the border. That
using the National Guard to round people up.
Yeah, it's basically, it's what's been the Republican plan since at least Reagan, but it is helpfully compiled all in one place. It's a great window into the ultra-conservative mind.
It's a wish list.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is coming true, sadly.
Oh, also, the president of the Heritage Foundation literally said recently on camera that the U.S., quote, is in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be. So yeah, I think it should be very easy to run against that.
You just point at it and just say, hey, this is wildly unpopular with even more than a majority of the country.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When Joe Biden won in 2020, that wasn't people voting for Joe Biden. That was people voting against Donald Trump. Because normal people, who thankfully do make up at least a decent plurality of the people in this country who vote, were increasingly like, wow, Trump and all of Trump's people, up to some weird, kind of scary shit. I'm not really interested in that. And really, you just have to be like, this is what they're doing.
Intervene immediately.
And like, even at the debate, when abortion came up, Biden, it's like, okay, here's your chance. The most important issue of this election.
Instead,
he starts talking about like some woman who got murdered by an illegal immigrant. What are you doing?
Yeah, it was bizarre how he took that layup and just completely, like, not even like screwed it up, but got his point across in the worst way possible.
Yeah, and people are like, a lot of people are like, well, yeah, I mean, like, he had a bad debate. Like, no, that moment in particular was just like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
He is not equipped.
Anyone could have clapped back on that.
Yeah, literally anyone.
Yeah. But at least one group of people is doing something about Project 2025, and that is a group of gay furry hackers. Here's the intercept. SiegeSec, a collective of self-proclaimed gay furry hackers, has claimed credit for breaching online databases of the Heritage Foundation, the conservative think tank that spearheaded the right-wing Project 2025 playbook. SiegeSec released a cache of Heritage Foundation material as part of a string of hacks aimed at organizations that oppose transgender rights, although Heritage disputed that its own systems were breached. In a post to Telegram announcing the hack, SiegeSec called Project 2025 an authoritarian Christian nationalist plan to reform the United States government. The attack was part of the group's Op Trans Rights campaign, which recently targeted right-wing media outlet Real America's Voice, Hillsong megachurch, and a Minnesota pastor.
In his foreword to the Project 2025 manifesto, the Heritage Foundation's president, Kevin Roberts, rails against the toxic normalization of transgenderism and the omnipresent propagation of transgender ideology. The playbook's other contributors call on the next conservative administration to roll back certain policies, including allowing trans people to serve in the military. We're strongly against Project 2025 and everything the Heritage Foundation stands for. One of SiegeSec's leaders, who goes by the handle VO, told The Intercept. In its Telegram post, SiegeSec said it obtained passwords and other user information for every user of a Heritage Foundation database, including Roberts and some U.S. government employees. Heritage Foundation said in a statement Wednesday that SiegeSec only obtained incomplete password information.
So, look, thank you to the gay furry hackers.
They were there when we needed them the most.
Yes.
I think they're going to be doing a lot more hacking.
I think you're going to be hearing a lot more out of these gay furry hackers. So, yeah, thank you to them. But back to AI news again. I mean, sure, we still haven't been able to come up with a single use case for this technology that justifies all of the massive downsides. But surely the folks over on Wall Street who are throwing insane amounts of money at all of this AI tech right now are doing it for a good reason, right?
Well, of course.
Well, maybe not anymore. Just like with Web3 before it, the dust is starting to settle on this hype cycle, and people are starting to question how accurate all that hype was. And by people, we mean Goldman fucking Sachs. one of the largest investment firms on Wall Street, whose only religion is money, and whose latest research report seems pretty bearish on the idea of generative AI actually being profitable anytime soon. Here's Decrypt.co with some highlights.
The global investment banking firm's June 2024 report, Gen AI, Too Much Spend, Too Little Benefit, provides a reality check for those bullish on AI. Despite the tech industry's exuberance and a staggering $1 trillion that's forecasted to be spent on AI infrastructure, the report highlights the sobering view of MIT's Darren Acemoglu and Goldman Sachs' own Jim Covello. Acemoglu estimates that AI will automate less than 5% of tasks in the next decade, contributing a meager 0.9% to GDP growth. Covello goes even further, arguing that the current AI tech isn't equipped to solve complex problems cost-effectively, at least not one that's worth investing $1 trillion on. AI bulls seem to just trust that use cases will proliferate as the technology evolves, he said in an interview cited by the report. But 18 months after the introduction of generative AI to the world, not one truly transformative, let alone cost-effective application has been found.
If AI technology ends up having fewer use cases and lower adoption than consensus currently expects, it's hard to imagine that a bust of the AI bubble won't be problematic for many companies spending on the technology today, he said. Covello believes the AI hype could last for another 18 months before investors start to lose interest due to the lack of truly meaningful advances. Contrast that with Goldman Sachs' own May 2024 report, which, despite its cautious tone, was practically lyrical about AI's potential. The report, led by Joseph Briggs, predicted generative AI would eventually boost U.S. productivity by 9% and GDP by 6.1% over 10 years. It painted a rosy picture of AI laying the groundwork for future efficiency gains and economic growth, emphasizing early positive signs from AI adoption in specific sectors. So why the sudden change in June? The June report pointed out the high costs, slow returns, and significant infrastructure challenges that could throttle AI's growth.
So again, Wall Street does not care about whether AI will improve all of our lives or create a utopian society. They literally only care whether it makes money. And it's looking like at least one Wall Street firm has looked at the data and concluded that there's a pretty good chance that generative AI is just a big money pit.
One of the things Ed Zatron has pointed out multiple times, we've talked about it before, but the idea that you just let it go and do its thing is false. For the foreseeable future, you need checks and balances on everything it does, and that's been proven every step of the way. With every deployment, there's been some horrific problem where you are now doing twice the work. You need someone checking the robot's work.
It's not saving you money.
No.
So yeah, whether this has larger implications remains to be seen. But yeah, it's a pretty big pivot from where things were a year ago or even a month ago.
Yeah.
But let's move on to our final topic of the day. Mark Zuckerberg and his ongoing transformation from a guy who looks like an evil robot into a guy who, dare we say, looks kind of cool. Not that he is cool, of course. Yeah. Fuck that guy. Yeah. He is not cool. But after his weird interactions last summer with Elon Musk over that MMA fight between them that never happened, Zuck seems to have realized that after years of being the villain, in comparison to Elon, he actually seemed relatively normal and relatively cool. And it sounds like he's like, now's my opportunity.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, he ditched that weird Roman emperor haircut and let his curly locks flow. He stopped wearing exclusively gray t-shirts and jeans. He even started rocking a gold chain. Last week, Mark Zuckerberg confronted one of his most infamously uncool moments. And of course, you'll remember a few years back when paparazzi caught Mark Zuckerberg riding some sort of electric surfboard while just caked in sunscreen and caked in other ways. And he looked like a surfing mime. He really did look ridiculous.
Yeah, he looked like a kabuki theater actor.
Yeah. Well, as of last week, when you Google Mark Zuckerberg surfing, much of that cringe has now been replaced by this. That is Mark Zuckerberg surfing on a normal surfboard, or is it a surfboard or a wakeboard?
Oh, it's a surfboard, but he's wakeboarding, I think. Or it's a wakeboard. I don't know. He's surfing on it.
And he's also wearing a tuxedo. He's holding a tall boy and an American flag. He's rocking the gold chain. He's sipping the beer. And at least to our eyes, he's doing a great, effortless job on that surfboard.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
No.
He looks cool.
If I had plenty of time to train and a trainer and, you know.
If I had $100 billion.
And a designer to do me up, I'm sure that I tried surfing a year and a half ago, and I got up. I rode a wave for a little bit.
Actually got up.
Yeah.
I tried it like, I was like 17 at the time, had no fucking upper body strength. And yeah, it was a bad day.
You need a lot of core strength.
I didn't have it at
Someone
the time.
watching this surfs is going to look, these fucking losers. But yeah, no, like popping up on the board is getting hard. And you have to do that so many times the first, like when you're learning.
It sucked too. My instructor was like, it was like literally a 12-year-old kid who was just like, no, you just do it like this.
Eliminate the enemy force.
It's much like, because I didn't grow up with snow sports, it's like when I tried to learn snowboarding and skiing out here, where you have to have such good core strength because you fall so much and you have to get yourself back up, and that is literally the hardest part.
That's the work. But back to Zuck.
Yeah.
So yeah, in spite of everything else about this man and the deeply evil impact that he has had on human society,
blood on his hands,
you do simply got to hand it to him. That is pretty damn cool what he's doing on the 4th of July.
Look, the PR pivot is fine. He's still a terrible person.
Yeah.
He's awful, but it's nice to have someone out there going, I'm not intentionally trying to be evil 100% of the time.
Yeah.
I'm actually the most normal guy.
Yeah.
He's been in the same relationship forever. He's got a wife and kids. Like,
he has hobbies outside of world domination.
He seems to be somewhat enjoying himself. He's also doing that on the backs of insane land grabs, and
he's a bad person.
Yes,
but he's surfing with the American flag and the beard, the gold chain, the tuxedo. Pretty cool. Very cool, and everyone seemed to agree. They're like, "Wow, I didn't think I liked Mark Zuckerberg, but hey, that's pretty cool." It's everyone that is.
Oh yeah.
Except for
one,
Elon Musk, who said on Twitter, "May he continue to have fun on his yachts. I prefer to work."
Shut up.
What a fucking loser.
Yeah.
This is like exactly like this is the Chad and Cuck meme brought to life.
Yeah, well, I prefer to stay inside coding.
Oh, having fun? That's so like basic. I like to stay at home and work. And yes, I did count. Elon tweeted at least 20 times on July 4th when this video was posted. Not including retweets, probably closer to 30 or 40. So I don't know, maybe that's what he meant by working?
Well, yeah, he's
on a fucking national holiday.
He's literally said that that's working before. But also, one of the most infamous photos of Elon is on a yacht getting sprayed down.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry. If we're putting these two men up against each other, I'm Zuck every time.
Yeah, I guess.
Like,
it's like, okay, Zuck sucks. And it's cool to see him in that surfing photo or whatever. And it's great that that's the bar. That's the lowest bar. And anything lower than that is just actively hating on minorities. Like, while Zuck is surfing and drinking a beer, Elon Musk is actively making people's lives harder.
Yeah, Elon Musk is like sitting in an office surrounded by crushed up Diet Coke cans.
Yeah, and like ketamine bombs.
Yeah, he smells like fucking ass.
Yes.
He's got like jars of, every time he has jerked off, he's put it in a jar because someone might need that later. So he's surrounded by like jars of his own cum.
Just to run a bad luck
Yeah,
operator.
it's
I wouldn't be surprised.
That's what he's doing. He's like, oh, actually, I prefer to work.
Elon probably like donates sperm.
Probably gets off on it.
Yeah.
I can only come if I'm at the fertility center.
We're gonna find out in like 20, 30 years that he like actually is Genghis Khan. Like, he's gonna have like thousands, tens of thousands of children. Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Neither do I. I don't like any of these folks.
Anyway, that's our show. Please, if you liked the episode, give us one of those thumbs up down there. It'll do a little fireworks show for you.
Yeah, the fireworks aren't over. Just because the 4th of July is behind us.
Put the dogs to bed because boom! Yeah, leave a comment, get the conversation started down there. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're feeling generous, this video was not sponsored and might get demonetized.
So click the join button, please,
click the
for the
join
love of
button.
God.
$5 a month gets you the hands, or for a one-time dono, press the thank button.
Yeah, we love it.
And over here we got our previous 2 episodes, just more Biden talk, but we also talked about RFK allegedly eating dog meat, one of those. So there you go.
We will see you soon, but I can't guarantee. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a wonderful holiday weekend, whether it was here in the United States, where everyone was attempting to blow themselves up with fireworks, or over in the UK, where the Labour Party, led by Keir Starmer, has taken control of Britain and ended 14 years of Conservative Party rule, causing Prime Minister Rishi Sunak to step down.
Or in France, where they averted the rise of the new Nazi party.
Yeah, it was also a nice weekend for everyone over in France, where an alliance of leftist parties defeated the far-right party and Marine Le Pen, leaving her in tears and creating yet another crying conservative meme to add to the pile.
Yeah, it is very satisfying seeing that woman cry.
Now, not only is this very funny, but it also sets some solid footing over here if Biden can just find the strength to remove himself from the presidential election. We could be just like them. Now, these two governments were expected to go for conservatives, but instead, it was another red wave that failed to materialize as citizens decided to just not give fascism another try, at least for now. If it were successful, the French election could have resulted in the first far-right government since World War II, according to the Associated Press.
Vichy 2. Well, there's at least some good news for parts of Europe and the UK. We, here in the USA, we are still dealing with plenty of our own problems. And one of our biggest problems continues to grow as President Joe Biden has not only refused to step down as the candidate for the Democratic Party for president, he has become undeniably increasingly Trump-like in his interactions with the press and other elected officials, including members of his own party, and his most diehard fans, increasingly MAGA-like in their refusal to accept reality.
They're calling it Blue Anon.
It is very much Blue Anon.
Delusional.
It is fascinating. I mean, this is all lurked below the surface this whole time, but
it's really coming
in the
out
past week or so, just looking at replies to, like, you know, just the most milquetoast liberals saying, like, hey guys, like, maybe he's too old, and just seeing the claws come out. It's fascinating. So we'll get to Biden in a second. But since it's the first episode back since the 4th of July holiday, we should probably cover some fireworks-induced catastrophes. So hold on to your butts, because it's going to get pretty dark.
Yeah.
Honestly, based on how insane Los Angeles goes with fireworks, despite them being illegal, it is shocking that we aren't seeing more catastrophic accidents from across the country. But there were definitely some moments that stood out, including what appears to be a misfiring during a professionally held fireworks display at a football stadium in Utah. Here's ABC News with more.
Malfunctioning fireworks veered into the stands at a crowded Utah football stadium and struck members of the audience during the 4th of July celebration, sending up to 6 people to the hospital, according to authorities and the event organizer. The mishap occurred during the opening ceremonies of the Stadium of Fire show, the flagship event at Provo's annual Freedom Festival at Brigham Young University's Lavelle Edwards Stadium. The fireworks were shot off inside the outdoor arena as several jets passed overhead. Organizers halted the show for about 15 minutes while injured audience members received medical attention, Freedom Festival spokesperson Emery Cook said Friday. Videos posted on social media show individual fireworks veering off from the cluster sent into the sky over the field and landing amongst rows of spectators in the stands at the outdoor arena. About 45,000 people attended the sold-out show, Cook said. Teresa Jack of Provo, who was watching the show from the field, said she saw a rocket fly over her head and into the stadium's east stands, exploding and sending up a big cloud of smoke like a bomb going off.
Hold on now. So, yeah, obviously at stadiums during sports, they shoot off fireworks. Dodger Stadium shoots off fireworks anytime they win.
Every Friday.
They don't shoot it off from inside the stadium. They're way, way out in the parking lot, shooting it away from the stadium because, first of all, it's safer. But secondly, how the fuck are you watching a fireworks show inside? Are you laying down, staring straight up? How does this even work?
And the videos from this, which I don't think we could show because they are, I didn't see anyone, blatantly injured in the videos in a way that would get it blocked. But who knows? These might be like Storyful or Viral Hog videos by now anyway. But this one guy's filming the show, and then a rocket just comes straight to him, and then the only thing you can see is like a giant burn mark on his shirt. But it doesn't show anyone around him. But it was serious. However, for those of you who are very concerned, it brings us great pleasure to announce that the Jonas Brothers did go on with the show. They played a full concert for the surviving members of this crowd.
Yeah,
they said the show must go on.
That's what the crowd needed at that moment. The Jonas Brothers to come and bring them together. In a time of mourning.
Yes, exactly.
Now on the other side of the country, we got an unfortunate but important reminder that you actually are not immortal, even if it's a holiday. Life is not a cartoon.
Yeah, even if you're drinking a whole lot.
Explosives are dangerous. Yeah, because some guy grabbed a firework, held it up to his head as a goof, and instead of comically blasting his hair back and covering his face in soot, it actually just killed him.
Yeah.
Because this is real life. You shouldn't fuck around with explosives no matter how tempting it is. This is literally one of those mannequins.
Yeah,
at the Consumer Protection. One of the mannequins that they set up in the National Mall.
They're like, this is what's going to happen.
One of them is literally a guy holding a firework on top of his head. And you can see the results in the mannequin. It's not pretty. I imagine it's even worse with a real human body.
Just like with OSHA, I believe the Consumer Protection, when they were displaying those mannequin explosions, were basing it off of actual accidents that happened and apparently continue to happen.
This is something that people have been known to do.
I know this looks dumb, but we're here to tell you it's happened and it'll happen again.
Adding insult to injury and creating a near perfect analogy for the state of our nation, the dude who blew himself up with a firework was dressed as Uncle Sam while doing so.
Yeah.
From Charleston, South Carolina news outlet WCBD TV, CBD, relaxing. Dorchester County Coroner Paul Bruthers said the victim, 41-year-old Alan Ray McGrew, ignited a large firework device and set it on his head. The device exploded, causing massive head injuries. The incident happened during a neighborhood block party. According to a report from the sheriff's office, the victim's wife told deputies she believed he placed the firework on his head to show off. Family members tried to get him to stop, but the firework went off and McGrew collapsed.
This scenario is kinetic. Plan accordingly.
Ruining not only his life, but the lives of everyone at that block party.
Yeah, this is for every 4th of July for the rest of their lives. They're going to think about the time they watched the man explode his head in front of them as a goof.
At least they'll never do that again, you would hope.
So with the 4th of July fireworks out of the way, it's time to start taking a sobering look at the state of our country. Most notably, the condition of our current president. His age, his cognitive decline, and his absolute refusal to acknowledge that his time in politics should come to an end if he actually cares about the future of democracy and his country. Even we agree that Kamala Harris would be the better choice if it came down to that. I can barely believe myself. That's how far we've come. The children yearn for Kamala.
Yeah.
And we would be happy to see her, or honestly, anybody that is younger than, I don't know, 65. Let's say 65 years old.
That's a good line.
Normal fucking, like what should be normal retirement age.
Yeah.
People who have the means to retire generally do it around then. They don't just keep working until they fucking die.
Yes, I would say that is not a way to live.
Yeah.
And you know what, Biden, on a few things, you've done a good job. Why not just retire and leave your legacy intact? But no, he's decided.
He is. It's fascinating hearing a lot of the chatter from behind the scenes about how, like, apparently he is very concerned about his legacy.
Yeah.
And that's one of the main reasons stopping him from doing any of this. And it's like, I want them to remember me as the guy who defeated Donald Trump. It's like, you did that. Yeah. And honestly, if you had said a year ago that you weren't going to run for, like, you would go down in history as, like, a pretty important president.
Yeah.
And now you're leaving the door open to being the guy who lost Donald Trump.
Yeah, and kind of allowed American democracy to be dismantled.
Well, you know, what matters is not whether or not this country descends into a fascist hellscape. What matters is that Joe Biden gave it 110%.
And that's why he's going to get a personal pan pizza and a participation trophy after this big game.
That's right. So there have been rumors of Gretchen Whitmer or Gavin Newsom stepping in, which would also Gavin wouldn't be my first choice. I think Gretchen's pretty solid.
Yeah.
And she's very well liked. She polls very well. The people of Michigan like her a lot.
At this point, I'm happy with anyone under the age of 65, and that's called being pragmatic.
Yeah, but yeah, all of this seems to rely. The goddamn ambulance is here again.
Must have been another fireworks incident.
I hope not, but they are still launching them. It's very annoying. But yeah, all of this talk, it relies entirely on Biden stepping aside, which he very stupidly will not do. And he's been on a tear recently in increasingly desperate attempts to prove that he's not only capable of doing the job, but that he can and will do that job successfully for the next 4.5 years, which will put him at 85 or so when this is all said and done.
I believe he might actually be 86. His birthday's in November.
Yeah, he will be 86 by the time he wraps up that second term.
Which means he'll be 82 after this, like a week or two after this election. Anyway, that's a big if Joe Biden stays in and is successfully elected president. And that seems increasingly unlikely as more members of his own party, some of his staff, have started publicly asking him to step down for the good of the country. Like we said, though, the correct way to do this, and the one that will create the least amount of political nonsense, is Joe Biden willingly stepping aside.
Yeah, no, that's another thing. I want to talk about legacy. The longer you let this go on, the longer you dig your heels in, the worse your legacy looks in the end. Even if you do step aside, which would still be the right thing to do.
Yes. If you are pushed out,
there's a graceful way to do it, and then there's a fucking embarrassing way to do it.
If you're pushed out, looks bad. If you lose to Donald Trump, even worse.
The thing is, he can't get pushed out.
Yeah.
It's his choice.
That's the problem. Yes. Even though we are over a week from this disastrous debate performance, he is not showing any signs of stepping down. In fact, he's done multiple interviews with major news outlets to prove he's got the juice. But the only thing these appearances have done for Biden are just reaffirmed everyone's belief that he is too old to have the most important job in the country.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he goes on, like, he does a long sit-down interview with George Stephanopoulos, and all you have to do is, like, Google, like, Biden 2020 interview, and it's like, oh, yeah, no, it's noticeably in decline.
Yeah. He's done these interviews. He still comes off as old.
Stubborn.
Yeah. And he also is, at this point now, drawing a hell of a lot of unnecessary and damning parallels to his opponent. And I guess it's time for our near daily reminder and warning. Being critical of Biden does not mean we support Donald Trump or that weird third-party candidate who ate a dog. Donald Trump would be worse for the country in every conceivable way, which is why everyone is so goddamn concerned with Biden, and why it is infuriating that he seems unwilling to put the country over his own ego.
Yeah, no, it's, and
at first I was like, maybe he's confused. Now I think he's actually selfish.
No, he's very selfish, and that hasn't been, like, reported on a lot, but, like, he, going back the 50 years he's been in politics, like, he's had a very negative relationship with, like, the press and just anyone who's ever doubted him. He holds grudges.
That's the problem.
Like crazy.
Now that people are doubting him, he's going to fight harder than ever.
Yeah, he is. It's very, like, Nixonian. Nixon had, like, the same thing where he would just stay up pissed off about his grudges.
I don't know if you've been following the news past 2 weeks, but he's been completely exonerated, Elliot. So you owe President Nixon a big apology because those were official acts.
Richard Wheelhouse Nixon did nothing wrong. But yeah, no, and listen. We don't want Trump to win, and that's why we want Biden to step aside, because if you look at the fucking polling, in every state which would be considered a battleground, Democrats running for Congress, running for Senate, polling is looking good for them. They're looking like they got a healthy lead there. Joe Biden, on those same polls, not looking good.
No.
The exact opposite. Looking bad. Looking like he's going to lose, but the Democrats are going to win in Congress. Which, if you look at that information, you say, okay, well, it's not that people don't want to elect Democrats, it's that they don't want to elect Joe Biden.
Yes, and that fact has turned him into a very aggressive, very tanned, loud...
Tanned, rested.
Tested. President. He kind of seems like Trump in at least the last 2 interviews.
But yeah, multiple people have pointed out in the past couple of days, but yeah, Biden has become increasingly combative towards members of his own party. Has lashed out at the press immediately and has begun yelling during interviews in an attempt to not sound feeble, but he does it in a way that comes off as just angry and condescending and old. And worst of all, he's rocking what appears to be just a horrific spray-on tan, rendering him as orange as his predecessor and making us feel as though we are on crazy pills. What is going on? Now, luckily, a headline from Business Insider made us realize that we weren't seeing things. It read simply, "You're not losing your mind. Biden is getting more orange." They also included a bunch of side-by-sides and links to recent appearances. But yeah, looks are all bullshit. It's the way that he's expressing his denial. That's what's important. And what appears to be an ego-driven quest to stay in power. Those are what's drawing most of the concern.
Yeah.
He's getting really close to the Trump mantra of "I alone can fix all of society's problems." And it's bullshit, and it's fucking bizarre. We have 2 extremely selfish, egotistical men running for president. I'd still think Biden or Trump is the more dangerously egotistical and selfish person, but yeah.
And they're both very old.
Both very old.
Very
so
old, very nasty.
frail, might not live through that term. Whoever wins, we're getting a dead president, folks. I haven't had one of those in a while.
When we left you last week, Biden was promoting a big interview with ABC News and George Stephanopoulos, which was supposed to show how on top of it he actually
This is like a kid being like, okay, watch this. And
he kicks his leg out from under him and falls?
No, not even that. Just does like the shittiest, weakest ollie you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. You can skateboard. I thought you gathered the whole neighborhood around to watch you.
Yeah.
You set up the fucking half pipe. Like, I thought you were going to do something cool.
No, this is the dude from Mad TV going, look what I can do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was made to have him look good, how on top of it he is, and how he can respond to the hard questions, as long as those questions are predetermined in some cases. And he can also fight back against the attacks by just simply quoting his administration's track record, which, as we've said before, it's actually pretty good. Domestically, outside of his handling of Palestine and Gaza, especially when compared to other nations and how they have bounced back from peak pandemic times. Another thing we have to constantly point out. But yeah, this appearance did very little to move the needle at all. And like we said, it just kind of came off as combative, dismissive, and a bit out of touch with the realities we're facing here and what the result of a failed campaign could be. And we're going to show a few clips, and just keep in mind that this interview was supposed to help Biden convince people that he's not too old to remain president.
So these first two are Biden commenting on what he views as just a bad night during the debate, and also his refusal to acknowledge the legitimacy of polls indicating that he is drastically falling behind.
Was this a bad episode or the sign of a more serious condition?
It's a bad episode. No indication of any serious condition. I was exhausted. I didn't listen to my instincts in terms of preparing, and I had a bad night.
You won the popular vote in 2020, but it was still deadly close in the electoral college.
7 million votes.
Yes, but you're behind now in the popular vote.
I don't buy that.
Okay, the next are his response to members of his own party asking him very nicely to step down. And also the clip that made headlines in the following days where Biden indicates that only the Lord Almighty could convince him to step aside.
Washington Post just reported in the last hour that Senator Mark Warner is assembling a group of senators together to try and convince you to stand down because they don't think you can win.
Well, Mark is a good man. We've never had that. He also tried to get the nomination too. Mark and I have a different perspective.
If you can be convinced that you cannot defeat Donald Trump, will you stand down?
It depends if the Lord Almighty comes out and tells me that, I might do that.
So two more that stood out to us. So first, apparently, according to this interview, Biden did not rewatch the debate between himself and former President Trump.
Did you ever watch the debate afterwards?
I don't think I did, no.
Hey, buddy, maybe you should watch your own debate back because it might shock you. And then you might understand exactly why everyone is kind of freaking out.
Yeah, that is fascinating. This is like someone who thinks they're like really good at singing, but has never actually listened to their voice recorded.
Yeah.
It would probably help a lot.
I would go as far as saying that he should probably be forced to rewatch his debate performance.
Yeah, I mean, listen, politics isn't sports, but any athlete who just simply refused to watch tape of their own performances, that's objective. You shouldn't do that. You should watch yourself. Especially if you went out and played a game and everyone said you fucking sucked. You should watch the tape.
Yeah.
Anyway, finally, this is probably the clip that angered people the most because he just flat out says that if he loses to Trump, it doesn't really matter because, he gave it his all.
And if you stay in and Trump is elected and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel in January?
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the good job as I know I can do. That's what this is about.
Yeah, don't you understand? He tried, and that's all that matters in life. You try.
Yeah, it's the most important election in all of history. But also, if it doesn't go our way, it's important that he tried.
Yeah, he really put in the effort and gave it his all.
Yeah, that's what's important. So yeah, no, it's fine. There are literal lives, freedoms, climate issues, and lots more at risk. But as long as you tried, that's what really matters, I guess, to you.
Yeah.
And you are the protagonist of reality, so.
Sure.
We're all just living in the Joe Biden story, the movie. We're all just NPCs in your open world game, sir.
So, yeah, so obviously this ABC News interview didn't do much to sway public opinion in Biden's favor. And instead of having much in the way of self-reflection, Biden just continued to double down by releasing official statements regarding that refusal to step down, and then called into a cable news morning show where he is almost universally beloved in order to angrily rant for a few minutes, much to the visible shock and dismay of the hosts who thought this was going to be a slam dunk.
And in fact, the show that Donald Trump used to angrily call into on voice only back in 2016, it was like a regular media appearance he did was get on the phone. Don't use a camera, even though you definitely could.
And he still does that to this day with Fox News. Sometimes if they allow him, they're not being very nasty.
But Morning Joe was the show that Trump, they just have him on constantly.
But yes, as Elliot's alluding to, this is so straight out of the Donald Trump playbook that it almost feels like plagiarism. It is weird. And first, here's just a few select quotes from a letter that President Biden wrote to congressional Democrats on Monday morning. I want you to know that despite all the speculation in the press and elsewhere, I am firmly committed to staying in this race, to running this race to the end, and to beating Donald Trump. I wouldn't be running again if I did not absolutely believe I was the best person to beat Donald Trump in 2024.
Disrupting with an EMP.
He then claims that he won a Democratic primary where, he ran against Marianne Williamson, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and Dean Phillips, and not even in every state because some of them can only get on some of the ballots. And I guess that means that the people have chosen Joe Biden unequivocally. We had a very real and very cool primary where, we honestly assessed the question of whether Joe Biden should run for a second term.
Also, I'd like to point out,
honestly and sincerely.
I forgot to put it in here, but I do want to point out that there was a not insignificant effort going around where people did not commit to a candidate during the primary voting.
Yeah, there was. I think there's something like 3,000 delegates, and they got a couple dozen.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a real primary because
he essentially ran on the front.
If it was a real primary, you wouldn't just have these randos running.
Yeah.
Anyone within the Democratic Party who thinks that they have a decent shot at being president, and there are a lot of those people, did not run, specifically because it would fuck up their chances of actually getting anything done within the party.
Yeah, in reality, no one active in the party would run against an incumbent president and risk dividing the party and ruining their political career.
Yeah, it's just not done.
But sure. I mean, he repeats over and over and over that voters have chosen him and that he's going to honor that choice, despite willingly admitting that he is not going to listen to current polling that has undoubtedly changed since he became the presumptive nominee earlier this spring. He then goes on to end the letter with, the question of how to move forward has been well aired for over a week now, and it's time for it to end. We have one job, and that is to beat Donald Trump. We have 42 days to the Democratic Convention and 119 days to the general election. Any weakening of resolve or lack of clarity about the task ahead only helps Trump and hurts us. It is time to come together, move forward as a unified party, and defeat Donald Trump. It doesn't instill me with a lot of hope.
No. Now, unsurprisingly, these statements have largely failed to win over some top Democrats, as well as members of the press, members of his own administration, and, the American people, the ones who vote. Yeah. Even worse was the aforementioned appearance on MSNBC's Morning Joe with hosts Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, where Biden literally sounded like Donald Trump, angrily yelling about the elites and news media coordinating against him, getting awfully close to uttering phrases like phony poll numbers and fake media or haters, even going as far as challenging other members of his party to come at the king. Do it at the convention.
1v1 me, bro.
So yeah, definitely things that someone who's totally in control would say.
Yeah, that's the other problem with this, is that for 2 weeks, it has been nothing but focus on the very real situation of Biden's age and no other topics, which are very, very important. There's a lot of things to fix, solve in this country. There's a lot of damage that we can potentially stop. But this has absolutely dominated the news cycle.
Sure.
And for good reason.
And I mean, listen, we have a for-profit news media, and there's a story here.
There is.
It is an interesting story. There's a lot of people with a lot of opinions who want to talk about it. So, obviously, there is that angle.
Yeah.
And if Biden stepped aside, that would become the news story.
Yeah.
But that story would have a lot of potential to really turn things around, depending on a lot of factors. But right now, this is all bad.
They're taking what could be a incredible free marketing path and doing the opposite.
Yeah.
They're instead trying to prove that this soon-to-be 82-year-old man is totally fine behind the wheel when everyone's like, just let someone else drive, for Christ's sake.
Just, you know, it's not going away. Like, Biden can say, like, all right, let's put this to rest, but it's not going away.
Buddy, you're not going to get any younger or healthier. I'm sorry. I feel bad for this old man, but
I felt bad for him a little bit. My sympathies have dried up.
Sure, yeah.
Anyway, here's Politico with more on this, and we will try to include some clips. If they are not included, it's because we got dinged for copyright, even though clearly the president speaking should be fair use, but
yeah. One of the primary reasons Biden has been visiting stops around the country was to make sure my instinct was right about the party still wanting me to be the nominee, he said. Biden boasted about his large and enthusiastic crowds and made a jab at criticism that he relies on a teleprompter, saying, I did it all extemporaneously. I'm not getting any of what I was told. I wanted to make sure I was right, that the average voter out there still wanted Joe Biden, he said, and I'm confident they do. Biden appeared on Morning Joe shortly after sending a letter to Hill Democrats on Monday that firmly stated his commitment to staying in the race, in a bid to shut down more intra-party calls for him to step aside. He reiterated his belief that he is the best candidate to beat former President Donald Trump in November, who he said hasn't done a damn thing since the debate and is riding around in his golf cart. And I'd say that last part is true because for one of the first times in recent memory, the Republican Party can actually just sit back and watch Democrats completely self-destruct. And actually making any comment or even reminding the public that Trump exists would hurt them in this situation.
Yeah, why act when your opponent is already doing your job for you?
There's got to be something in the art of war about that.
I bet that Sun Tzu, he probably would have said something like that, maybe a bit more eloquently.
Yeah.
Anyway, the article goes on to say that 4 senior Democrats on Sunday said in a private call with House leadership that Biden should step down. Many lawmakers have privately expressed concerns about Biden's age and viability since his disastrous debate performance last month. And the number of Democrats publicly calling on the president to withdraw is expected to grow from the 5 who have said so in the days ahead. They're big names, but I don't care what those big names think. They were wrong in 2020. They were wrong in 2022 about the red wave. They were wrong in 2024, Biden said, responding to a question about prominent figures who have called on him to step aside. Wait, who specifically was wrong all those times?
Everyone coming against him. The polls, the other Democrats who can't believe he can do it, probably Bernie Sanders.
No, that's the thing, is like Bernie and all the squad members have, in my opinion, very wisely just been like,
yeah, sure, whatever he said.
If I join this at all, it becomes about, the far left is trying to get Joe Biden to step down. The calls are all coming from literally in the middle of the House. It's all centrist Dems doing this.
Yeah.
And
Jerry Nadler.
Yeah, let them do it. You don't have to help them at all.
You always talk about how I don't have the black support. Come on, give me a break. Come with me. Watch. I'm getting so frustrated by the elite. Now, I'm not talking about you guys, but about the elite in the party, who they know so much more. But if any of these guys don't think I should run against me, go ahead, announce for president. Challenge me at the convention.
But it is crazy for him to be like, everyone's wrong but me.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy how that works when you're right and everyone's wrong.
It's also a very big character flaw. One Donald Trump.
Yeah. So then there have been White House press briefings, which have been a total disaster since the debate, where conversations about Biden's age and mental fitness have become the focus, with Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre repeating lines verbatim and getting angry with the press.
During Monday's press conference, members of the press inquired about White House visitor logs that indicated a Parkinson's disease specialist has visited the White House 8 times in 8 months between last July and this March. This line of questioning was shot down, with Jean-Pierre repeating that Biden has had a neurologist examination coinciding with his annual physical, that the neurologist had evaluated him 3 times, and that they had no new information or signs of neurological disorder since his last examination.